Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the European Technology Network.
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday, 21st of April. It is 1 minute past 11, and boy, do we have a show today.
Before we do that, leave our data's business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Here we go. The bell is going. The buzz is going.
The count's in.
Let's go through the lineup today.
Okay.
We got a good one. We've got a few reloads. One being Mr. GRITCULT is joining us back on the show. He had a banger semi recently. How many days ago was that? Was that a few days ago?
Why is marketing dead? Chief clipping officers, the distribution engineer, the Claude example. What are the 4 levels to this? Who is the most dangerous person in tech right now? The
distribution engineer.
He's going to be breaking things down for us. We've also got Harvey Hodd coming fresh off the back of a $34 million Series A, co-founder at Rivan. Going to be digging into everything with him. Kieran and Regan, founder at About Energy. They've just got a grant from the government. They're essentially building out a startup around predicting the life cycle of batteries, essentially pre-production, which is getting a lot of attention from the UK government. We've got Yoshi Yokokawa, the co-founder and CEO of Alpaca. They're a US headquartered self-clearing broker-dealer and a global leader in brokerage infrastructure APIs. We're going to be digging into why is the UK becoming a bit of an entry point for global brokerage, where cross-border investing still breaks down in practice, how the UK and Europe, how their regulatory frameworks can compare to the US, and where the biggest opportunities are emerging. Then we've got OSF, CEO and co-founder of Rekt Drinks. For those who follow OSF, he was one of the kingpins of the NFT days, hosting a portfolio in the multi-million dollars. He's now launched his D2C drinks brand, Rekt Drinks, where you can actually purchase a pack of Rekt Drinks essentially for free. They cost about £5 in the shop, and if you purchase them, there is a barcode on the back of the drinks that you scan. You are then repaid for your purchase in Rekt coin, their official coin, which is very interesting. We've then got Rebecca Kacaba. It's Kacaba or Kacaba. I'm hoping I'm getting one of those right. CEO and co-founder at DealMaker, coming in to talk everything IPOs, regulatory tailwinds, and what companies, investors, and capital markets are essentially doing at the moment, given the IPO buzz. On the docket today for news, I'm thinking we just jump straight into it. We've seen a viral launch of a new technology media show called MTS, the a16z's Monitoring the Situation show.
Interesting stuff.
Very interesting. So let's pull up some info on these guys. They launched yesterday. It was essentially an all-star lineup, a who's who of the a16z's new media team, with some heavy hitters like Chris Back, Theo, Gabriel, Netcap Girl. First guests include Mark Andreessen from the a16z's team, the founder of the technical, the member of Technical Staff podcast, and a bunch of other people. But essentially, they've launched what they're calling a 24/7 global technology, politics, business, culture show.
Which they're actually not live right now, so
they aren't live right now.
I don't really know if you can call yourself 24/7 when you're not live 24/7, guys. But
anyway. they smashed the launch.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
it was a masterclass in gaming the algorithm. They had a bunch of larger accounts jump on the launch. They teed up the launch amongst their founding partners, who also have large distribution channels. And they did a very good job of it. They followed the TBPN structure of let's make an announcement and then let's cover our own news live, essentially bringing the demand into your own product. You're funneling the attention that you get from this thing into your own product directly into the live stream, which is essentially the new meta. What does this mean for the space? I think it has now been crowned an emerging market. They are funded, they are backed, which means that the venture team that are backing this are expecting a venture outcome. However, because it is a16z's, I'm not sure if this just falls into their usual distribution play.
Surely this is just like another arm to their propaganda machine, as people say, right? Like, you can say that you're not you can say that you're not, that you're independent or whatever, but like, realistically.
The writing's on the wall.
The writing is on the wall. I'd like to just sit here and say thanks. We're still the only independent tech show on X.
To this day.
Let's go.
Guys.
But no, it was an interesting launch. Obviously, this was going to happen. I think they were working on this before TBPN did the deal, which I'm pretty sure you told me this morning. They've been working on this for like a few months. But obviously the deal with OpenAI about 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that obviously helped. And that was a big thing. And so this is now an emerging market, right? This is now a market that people can play in, and there are big things happening where there's genuine shifts in what's going on. So it will be interesting to see what happens over the next few months. What will people come out with? What's going to happen? What are we going to do? You never know. So there's some cool things on the horizon, I'm sure, for a lot of people. And it's interesting to just be at the frontier of something like this, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a genuine kind of fundamental shift in the way that information is being brought to the viewer. And what we're doing right now is exactly that. It's
I think if we also break down the model of what they seem to have optimized for, I think first show production quality was pretty good. Maybe people were expecting slightly better in terms of the flow of the show, but again, it's their first one, so obviously there's going to be hiccups, a few audio problems, a few sort of visual issues, and a little bit of downtime as well, but that's going to be very, very natural for a first show. But what is most interesting is what they've optimized for, and in my opinion, what they've done here is they've built a show that is prepped for clipping. It's if TBPN, and I guess us in ways as well, is the show is where the clips are produced in a way, and the clips provide most of the distribution. If they've built the sort of mega factory, it's 10 hours of footage. Think about how many clips you can get from that footage.
Yeah.
It will be, they've optimized for clipping based off the guests they're bringing in, based off the frequency on the streaming length and the fact that they're clipping live. I think the distribution engine is built in for them already, and I think you'll see two avenues that go. Do you have a Molly O'Shea style where it's in depth and it's it's there's a lot of prep going in. It's very, very deep. Then we have
high production quality. Well, not necessarily, but longer
they put effort into
cycles.
What does the backdrop look like? It's going to change every single time. There are a few people doing a really good job on that right now, and then you have the other spectrum, which is this
someone like a David Senra or whatever.
Yeah, David Senra and Molly O'Shea, and then the other spectrum would be let's cover a breadth of things, and let's just be at the frontier of the breaking information as much as possible. And then based off that, the guests come to us through virality, through a launch pad, through a way to offer distribution to them. Everyone's already looking at these things, so why don't I go on that thing to be looked at? But then I think what MTS have done is stretch that even further, right? There's, I think, 10 hosts mentioned, and maybe they're expanding to 15. I saw in Eric Turenberg's post, he was saying, we're still looking for more hosts. And we were seeing yesterday on the stream that they're jumping from, they have a set in place here for the openers of the show. I think it was the guy Theo and someone else. Then they're jumping to a whole new location via the RSS feed and plugging in 2 different hosts that are talking about politics. So that they're going for not just tech and avenues of business off that. They're going for politics.
Culture.
They're going for the culture elements of things. We'll see if they can marry that. I think that's one of the harder ones to do. Can't really be taught. The geopolitics / politics side of that, and I guess then tech and venture adjacent to that as well. But they're doing it en masse. They're doing it, which I think will be tough. It's definitely different to preview other live shows in that regard, in which there are 2 people that stay, TBPN, us. There are 2 people that stay. They are the hosts of the show, full stop. But this one seems to be the host or dynamic, which makes me think that's why it's optimized for clips.
Well, it's a business network, right? Think about the way that there's a company in the UK called GB News. They have leaned into this kind of new media format specifically. Obviously, they're fairly large on X, but specifically on TikTok and Instagram, they clip so many different things, and they have different correspondents. Like a standard news network, right? Where you have different correspondents all going to, all in different places with live footage. That live footage is kind of broadcast everywhere. But then, they clip things and I'm sure they do, absolute numbers on the clips. And it's that kind of thing with tech. It will be interesting to see all of these kind of different, angles and takes on doing the live show format. Obviously, we have taken lots of inspiration from the ones who did it first. And I think that is still a big opportunity. And I think there's, this just shows the ripeness of greenfield space to go and take something like this to a whole new level. So yeah, I think all in all, very positive. Anyway, I think we should move on to onto the big news. This was yesterday. Before we do that, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Tim cooked. He did cook. He was in. He was in a position for multiple years.
Should we sound the trumpets as like a moment of respect?
Please do.
Silence?
Please do. Why are you closing your eyes?
It's a moment of silence that you broke.
He hasn't died.
Yeah, but it's a sign of respect,
All right.
Sign of respect.
Anyway,
Tim cooked.
Obviously the FT covered this yesterday with the title Apple Chief Tim Cook to hand over to John Turnus in September. The head of hardware to become the next chief executive, while Cook will become chair of the iPhone maker. Before we go on to the FT article, I think we should probably do the community note from Apple themselves. So if we can pull that up, that'd be great.
Yeah,
we can start to read this. But this is obviously from the man himself, Tim Cook. Community letter from Tim. It goes to the Apple community. For the past 15 years, I've started just about every morning the same way. I open my email and I read notes I received the day before from Apple's users all over the world. I share little pieces of your lives. You share little pieces of your lives with me and tell me things you want me to know about how Apple has touched you, about the moment your mum was saved by her Apple Watch, about the perfect selfie you captured at the summit of a mountain that seemed impossible to climb. You thank me for the ways Mac has changed what you can do at work, and sometimes give me a hard time because something you care about isn't working like it should. In every one of those emails, I feel the beating heart of our shared humanity. I feel a sense of deepening obligation to work harder and push further, but most of all, I feel a gratitude that I cannot put into words, that I somehow got to be the person on the other end of those emails, the leader of a company that ignites imaginations and enriches lives in such profound ways. It defies description. What an honor and a privilege it has been. Today, we announced that I'm taking the next step in my journey at Apple. Over the coming months, I will be transitioning into a new role, leaving the CEO job behind in September and becoming Apple's executive, chairman. A new person will be stepping into what I know in my heart is the best job in the world. That leader is John Turnus, a brilliant engineer and thinker who has spent the last 25 years building the Apple products our users love so much, obsessed with every detail, focused on every possible way we can make something better, bolder, more beautiful, and more meaningful. He is the perfect person for the job. John cares so much about who we are at Apple, what we do at Apple, who we reach at Apple, and who has the heart and character to lead with extraordinary integrity. I'm so proud to call him Apple's next CEO. This company will reach such incredible heights under his leadership, and you will feel his impact in every bit of a delight and discovery that grows out of the products and services to come. I can't wait for you to get to know him like I do. This is not goodbye, but at this moment of transition, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you, not on behalf of the company this time, though there is a wellspring of gratitude for you that overflows inside our walls, but simply on behalf of me, Tim, a person who grew up in a rural place in a different time, and for these magical moments got to be the CEO of the greatest company in the world. Thank you for the confidence and kindness you've shown me. Thank you for saying hi to me on the street in our stores. Thank you for cheering alongside me when we unveil the new product or service. Thank you for all. Thank you most of all for believing in me to lead the company that has always put you at the center of our work. Every day we get up and think about what we can do to make your life a little bit better. And every day you've made mine the best I could have asked for. Thank you, Tim Cook. What a letter, man.
That was applause for a beautiful and a beautiful read from you.
Thank you.
Really well read.
Well, it's the third time I've read it, so I was practicing last night when I was
in the mirror.
No, I'm joking. What strikes out to me most when I first read this, and now I guess it always strikes me again. Maybe I'll read it later as well. That it was like the human connection side of Apple, right? I think it's so nice that they, with everything that's going on in the AI world and all that kind of stuff, obviously I think the narrative, I don't think Dario is now pushing that, but the narrative of kind of Claude, like Anthropic, I guess, being, to enable the human to do better. I think a lot of what, obviously Dario is kind of saying different things right now, but Sam Altman is very much a kind of like public proponent of, hey, we are trying to make humanity better, regardless of kind of what they do at OpenAI. But I felt Apple's always been there from day one.
Apple are the OG.
They are the OG human maxes. They make sure that all of their products are ergonomically designed to a very high precise bar, which is what they do best, right? It'll be interesting to see as an engineer taking on this kind of role.
Apparently he's a beast.
I feel like he has to be a beast.
Yeah, there's a funny
on the CEO role
on his LinkedIn, but we can bring this down. We'll start digging into the notes. There's a funny thing on his LinkedIn.
Wait, who's LinkedIn?
The next guy stepping in, so it's like he doesn't have Twitter. Someone quoted it as like, the new guy doesn't have Twitter. I like him already. And then his LinkedIn's just like no profile picture. It's just Apple 25 years. And
big up John
as well.
John Turners, we love it.
But let's go into the FT article and break it down to where we're. So Tim Cook will step down as Apple chief executive in September, handing over to hardware boss John Turnus and ending a 15-year tender during which his operational expertise helped turn the iPhone maker into one of the world's most valuable companies. The 65-year-old, who succeeded Apple's charismatic founder Steve Jobs in 2011, defied initial skepticism to turbocharge iPhone sales, build a services business, and navigate an increasingly fractious relationship between US and China, an important market and manufacturing hub for Apple. Turnus, who in a quarter-century career at Apple has risen through the ranks to oversee the engineering of its best-selling products, including iPhone, iPad, and
He
the
built
Mac.
all the iPhones, by the way.
He's the dude behind
the building of the iPhones.
Engineering of its best-selling products, iPhone, iPad, and the Mac.
Yeah. Because when Tim Cook, I'll let you finish in a sec. But when Tim Cook, where was that tweet? It was like, what they actually created. So this is from Shirish.
We can pull that up on the screen actually.
Yeah, maybe we just quickly, and then we'll go back to the thing. And what I think the most interesting thing, obviously the biggest thing is. Tim Cook grew it from $350 billion market cap company to a $4 trillion market cap company, which obviously, over 14 years is a bonkers feat. But all of the products that that Tim Cook has released, I didn't actually realize, and I don't know, maybe it's just a kind of blending of time that like the AirPods were released under Tim Cook's CEO-ship, and like the AirPods do like I think it's like $18 billion in revenue, more than like some of the kind of like larger market cap companies in the world. Yeah. Just that vertical of business alone.
I remember when that first graphic dropped, and everyone was like, "Wait, how does that?
Yeah, how does that even work?"
Just a single product line.
If you look at like, and I'm sure it's the same in like basically every other like major city, but if you look at the tube on a London tube on a whatever Tuesday morning, and you just look at the sea of people, guaranteed 95% of them will have Apple.
Yeah, the headphones
AirPods.
of choice are just like Apple products.
It's just like
I don't think I've ever had.
I think it's like a little bit negative aura to have something else.
Did you ever have skull candies? What are they called?
Is that what they call it?
I think they were called
skull
candies, like the old school ones. They were all like in like Rasta colours.
I had some like Rasta, I like yellow, green, and like brown or something. and they had like these. Mine were like made of like bamboo.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I don't know why everyone was walking around with these little Rasta headphones in like year 7.
I bought them on a ferry on the way to France.
I don't know where I got mine.
It was a big purchase of, you know, for I don't know,
yeah, those are the
14-year-old
only.
me.
I think I've had Bose overheads as well, which were pretty good.
Oh, see, I've never had those. That was a bit of a craze. What, in maybe like 2017?
What, the Bose headphones?
Bose headphones.
Yeah. Well, they did that thing with Dre, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was Beats. Sorry.
Oh
Beats.
no, yeah, no, that's not. Yeah,
Beats
I meant Beats. I meant Beats.
Yeah,
I meant Beats.
yeah.
Not Bose.
I don't think I had a pair of Beats. I don't think I ever got a pair of Beats. But yeah, they were like
Beats were too
they were manufactured terribly. Like
Beats were too
such
cool for me.
awful
And then they released. So anyway, they released the AirPods. Obviously, the M1 chip which is in every flagship, Apple product now, and they're kind of iterating on that, which is super interesting. Apple Vision Pro wasn't great, but they're still doing things.
Flop, yeah.
I also think what was in that. I mean, we can go back to the FT article, I guess, because the other thing that was super interesting was at the same time, Turnus will have to steer the company's AI strategy. Excuse me, as it struggles to harness the technology following a rare series of misfires that have blotted the past couple of years of Cook's leadership. Because, I mean, for one of the most valuable companies in the world, they are nowhere near where they should be in the AI race. I don't know. Do you think that they would kind of lean heavier into that, or are they?
I feel like that's a strategic choice that's paid off well.
I know. So I think they tried. I mean, they tried
with Siri,
every iPhone obviously has its own AI companion kind of software built within it. No one uses it. I don't know anyone who uses.
But they didn't. So their capex spend recorded essentially every single other Mag 7 company was pouring like billions and billions and billions and billions into AI.
Yeah.
They didn't put anything into it.
True, actually. Okay, so look, this is a super interesting dynamic, right? Where you've got one of the most valuable companies in the world, and the CEO has just written a however many words that was, maybe like 500 word, community letter, stepping down. No word of that was AI. It was all about human centric design and building software and hardware for humans, right? Which is a very nice take. I mean, even the top of the letter is the hand written, thing,
the
right?
organic vibes,
sort of
stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's paid off for them, right? Like their stock is doing incredibly well.
Do you think they will? Do you think John will lean more into that?
I don't know. I mean, if Tim has handed him a strategic bet that he started that was working, I can't see why John would want to move away from that.
Yeah.
It's not like they are doing very well, having not poured, tens to
one of the few technology companies,
the only Mag 7 to not
lean into
fire in billions and billions and billions into AI based off their capex. Which is again, their stock hasn't. It's trended well with that news as well. So it's the market's okay, Apple, do your thing, that's fine.
Yeah, do your thing. I mean, they're still selling $20 billion worth of iPhones every year.
There you go. How do you mess that? Just can't.
Is it 20 billion or 200 billion? 200 billion is a lot. Maybe no.
The market cap's $4 trillion.
Yeah.
So. But as part of the change, Apple said that Cook will become the executive chair. He will replace Arthur Levinson, who will become
200 billion.
200 billion.
Yeah.
Arthur Levinson, who will become lead independent director after 15 years leading the board. Shares in Apple slipped 0.6% in pre-market trading on Tuesday, giving the company based in California a market cap of $4 trillion. The FT reported in November that Apple's board was preparing a new name to name a new chief executive this year, and Turnus had long been viewed as Cook's likely successor. And the quote here, "I am filled with optimism about what we can achieve in the years to come," Turnus said. I've been lucky to have worked under Steve Jobs and to have had Tim Cook as my mentor. Cook, a close confidant of Apple's founder, initially took over as interim chief while Jobs was undergoing cancer treatment in 2009, before assuming permanent responsibilities in August 2011, shortly after Jobs' death. There's a whole. This is a really, really detailed article. Actually, the FT have really gone into everything here. But I guess a little bit more on like the trajectory it's been on previously, and then also like looking forward to what they've had to navigate. So Cook steered the company through the COVID-19 pandemic and legal and tax scrutiny from antitrust regulators and politicians. Recently, he's had to navigate US-China trade disruptions under Trump, securing repeated tariff carve-outs for the company's products. He was actually one of the only ones who was like incredibly outspoken and did very well navigating that whole I don't even know what you call it, situation. Apple has also released a series of new products under Cook, including the Apple Watch, Vision Pro, and AirPods. These additions have diversified its revenue through, although the iPhone still accounts for roughly half of its sales. An ambitious project to build an Apple car was shelved in 2024. I remember that when it got leaked. Everyone was just like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, Apple car, probably not the right bet.
Well, dude, as with an engineer in the house, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I'm just not sure a car would be a big pivot.
Big pivot.
A car would be, I mean, a great marketing stunt, but I mean, do they need the marketing? Probably not.
They, I mean, they still have Johnny Ive in the house.
Is he there?
The Mac Mini as well. Like, I want to know what the Mac Mini's revenues are.
Is Johnny Ive there?
Yeah. He's still in the game.
I don't know what happened with him and Sam Altman. That just got scrubbed, right?
I actually have no idea.
I don't know how that concluded.
They just kind of went like
just
fairly silent. Just went.
Was there an official release? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
But we can wrap it up there. But yeah, good to see we've got a new steward at the wheel of one of the Mag 7's. Happy days. Next on the docket. Oh wow, it's already 11:30. It's very cool.
I mean, we're absolutely kicking through. Anyway, our European soldiers have had a bit of a fumble. Not very GDPR compliant from Lovable.
I'll share this up on the screen.
If you go to the one on the 20th, the original tweet,
I've gone to
we were made aware of concerns regarding the visibility of chat messages and code on Lovable projects with public visibility settings. To be clear, we did not suffer a data breach. Our documentation of what public implies was unclear, and that's a failure on us. Specifically for public projects, chat messages used to be visible. This is now no longer possible. When it comes to code of public projects, this is intentional behavior. We have experimented with different UX for how to build the history. For how the build history is surfaced on public projects, but the core behavior has been consistent and by design. Importantly, for enterprise, customers being able to set visibility for public for new projects has been disabled since May 25th, 2025. And then they came out with another.
This one's a bit long.
You can read the start of it.
They're basically just saying like, hey, sorry that answer was a bit wishy-washy and that they've come in again. So we're sorry our initial statement didn't properly address our mistake. Here's what a public project and Lovable means and how we got to where we are today. So they go into explain mode, which is never really a good mode that you want to go into when you're addressing a PR comms crisis. Really, there should have been like Anton that's coming out first to address all of this. But they basically just say like, here's what happened, here's the history, here's why this setting was on, and they go through the debate of like, what does public or private mean, which is a really tough route to go down because you're essentially trying to redefine commonly used words. They sort of close it off with, upon learning this, we immediately reverted the change to make all public projects chat private again. We appreciate the researchers who uncovered this. We understand that pointing to documentation issues alone was not enough here. We'll do better. Essentially, the problem was people could view people's chats within Lovable. And then a final post, each one of these, they have quote tweeted the previous post, over 1 million impressions now. We were made aware of concerns regarding the visibility of chat messages and code on Lovable projects with public visibility settings. To be clear, we did not suffer a data breach. Oh, sorry, no, that was the original one. Oh, I've pronounced the wrong one now.
You're fumbling the bag already.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're having a comms crisis.
I'm having my own comms crisis, yeah. But yeah, so specifically for public projects, the chat messages used to be visible. This is now no longer possible. When it comes to code of public projects, this is intentional behavior. So they've essentially done 3 separate posts to address the same problem. They've had 3 shots on goal at explaining what they've done wrong. And everyone's just kind of like, so one, you kind of like the public sentiment seems to be like a little bit of your kind of gaslighting us a little bit, and why are we not hearing from the CEO, basically, and like all of the
what they should
projects.
do? They should just launch a launch video.
Tell me more.
As a, no words, or maybe like words on the screen, or even Anton, like they could use 11 Labs to get an Anton voice, just like, talking, right? If Anton's too busy. And just like launch the thing in a public apology launch video.
An AI avatar
launch
CEO
video. Yeah. So Synthesia plus 11 Labs, merge those things together, combine those things into AI avatar Anton. Launch video saying sorry, public apology, but make it funny. Problem solved, guys.
I would not like to have you as my PR director.
Why not? That's so much better than three like bots job. Like,
I think AI avatar of the team that made the problem. I'd argue that maybe it comes across like slightly insincere. It's like, hey, I'm too busy to deal with this, so like I've just
okay. We'll then get Anton in the flesh.
I think maybe Anton.
I know. I feel like Synthesia is probably getting so good now that it's like you
wouldn't be able to tell.
Wouldn't even know.
Yeah, maybe they've already done that. I don't know. But yeah, and Vercel also
they
was
could
hacked as well.
or they could get Zuck's tech that he's building
Zuck's
for
AI,
his only AI avatar.
Yeah.
Anton could call him up and be like, "Yo, having a bit of crisis over here myself. Please may I use your avatar software so I can address my company's."
Do you think if Anton called Zuck, do you think he has his number?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He's one of the fastest growing companies in Europe ever, right? Or is the fastest growing company in Europe?
I think
ever. Was the fastest growing company in Europe. What overtook it?
I mean, in terms of like they reached 100 million ARR the fastest. I think after that, it's like kind of like not as fast.
And it's still growing quite quickly, but yeah.
Yeah. It's still going very quickly.
Like still going gangbusters.
You think? Yeah,
100%.
He has
100%.
Zuck's number.
Game respects game,
True.
When your game is so good, it's.
Do you think he picks up the phone though if he calls him?
I think Zuck's chilling, dude. Not chilling, but like I think he's like.
I think he's working quite hard.
I think that guy's vibing.
He probably is chilling. I know he did recently move in to sit with the engineers actually and code with them.
Oh yeah, he's shipping.
He's in founder mode. He's in
fair. He's shipping.
He's out manager mode.
But he's only shipping only because like he's just addicted to it. That was what the article was about.
He loves it so much. Good lad. He was
like, this is now one of the first times that I've spent since founding Facebook to, to actually just sit down and just be addicted to shipping stuff.
Get coding.
Now. Yeah,
Get coding.
Exactly.
Anyway, trenches, love to see
so maybe Anton, if you're listening, that's what you should definitely do. Anyway, FT article came out yesterday about Anthropic and the Amazon deal. So Anthropic and Amazon have agreed a $100 billion AI infrastructure deal. The article goes, the $380 billion AI lab will receive up to 5 gigawatts of new capacity to train and run its model Claude over the next decade, with close to a fifth of that arriving this year, it announced on Monday. Amazon will invest $5 billion into Anthropic immediately at its current valuation and up to a further $20 billion over time. Anthropic and rivals, including OpenAI, have sought to lock in as much computing power as possible in order to serve their models to customers and continue their turbocharged growth. The success of Anthropic's AI tools this year, in particular its coding tool Claude Code, has tested the company's ability to reliably serve customers. The startup has suffered a number of outages this year. Dario Amodei, chief executive on Anthropic, said, our users tell us Claude is increasingly essential to how they work, and we need to build the infrastructure to keep pace and rapidly growing demand. Earlier this month, the group announced deals with Google and Broadcom, which will add another roughly 5 gigawatts over the coming years to its stockpile of computing power. Last year, Amodei criticized rivals that had pledged hundreds of billions of dollars to secure chips and infrastructure in remarks that were widely seen as a veiled reference to OpenAI. He said, I think there are some players who are YOLOing. We pull the risk dial too far, he told the New York Times conference in December, referring to the term, you only live once.
No way. What a quote
in the FT. Whoever wrote that, good on you, pal. Yeah, it's Anthropic is getting in the headlines again for buying compute. Things are shifting in the frontier game.
It's come off the back of everyone saying, "Hey, you're completely compute constrained," which is
and
why
all my my thing is just like Claude is just crashing type stuff, or I just don't have enough. I don't have enough compute. I keep running out.
Speaking of this, it's relevant to share, and I can probably find this and pull it up now a bit earlier than we planned to, but very much connected to this story is the fact that Meta are offering training programs. So like talking of being short on compute, Engineering It Better, their Twitter account released, "Today we're launching Level Up, a free 4-week training program that takes people with no prior experience and prepares them to work as fiber technicians on data center construction sites across the US. We've built this program with CBRE because the fiber technician field and the broader construction industry is facing a nationwide shortage at a time when data center demand is higher than ever." They are literally training people to build more. It's not even like, oh, we're short on this. We're short on this and we will be short on it for the years to come. And we're also short on the people building them. So like, how do we solve that problem? Like,
train more people.
We have to train more people. Us as as a company now is that's how dedicated they are to this. Or I guess that highlights how important it is to them, which is insane. I feel like this is a sneak peek into a future in which the companies are getting so big that they. Like in a way, I'm trying to work out how but
they become their own schools of training the next
like
generation.
They start owning all the things.
Okay, so the timescales now go from like, I don't know. I feel like as the company grows, the timescales that you look at go further and further ahead, right? So like Apple might be looking like 50 years in the future to like, okay, what's, because it's such a massive ship to steer, what direction can we go in? Obviously, like you're going to be making small bets, which is product pushes, but like, what are the big things? Whatever.
Yeah, they're like venturing into areas where okay, that's
and so it's like, okay, well, in the next 50 years, what will be, or I guess for Anthropic's case, what in the next 5 to 10 years, what are the things that we need that we don't have right now? Oh, well, the people that will be probably building this technology that is like going to be ready in whatever 5 years.
This is like, it's reminiscent of like, it's a very like Zuckerberg / Musk way of approaching the problem where like, what is the core, like from first principles, what is the core problem we are facing? It's not that, okay, so yeah, we're compute constrained. Okay, well, we need more data centers. Okay, well, like we need to build more. Okay, there aren't enough people to build them. Okay, so we'll train people to build them and then we'll get them. And that means we got our compute and that means we can compete. Like that's how, like, in my mind, they've probably thought about it. But I think it's cool parallel towards like what Stripe do with like Stripe Press. Stripe Press are putting books out to increase global GDP, like the GDP of the internet, to make people more intelligent and learn about business and venture and entrepreneurialism. So then they will go and found companies, and if they found companies, those companies will be successful. So now we're increasing the GDP of the internet economy. So like I love what they're doing. I think it's very funny. It's a little bit dystopian, to be honest, as well. But I'm fine with that. I'm all here for that.
I love this. I love a bit of dystopia.
Yeah, we love a bit of dystopia. It's I don't know, sneak peek into the world of. And I had this conversation with my housemate as well. And whenever we go to Sainsbury's after the gym, there's a Sainsbury's like, right.
How have you gone to this?
There is a parallel there.
Training
there is
new people.
There is a parallel there. Whenever we go to the Sainsbury's after the gym, like he used to buy this like beef jerky for protein afterwards, right? But then Mr. Beast bought the beef jerky brand. So now he eats Beast jerky. But it's an example of like the weird over sort of corporization of all these. So next week I'm going to be in like KSI bread and like Jake Paul milk and stuff like this. Like, oh, can you go and get some KSI eggs?
Can you go get some Anthropic eggs?
But yeah, now it's like engineering it
with a data center plastered on the top.
Maybe a weak parallel. But I just thought it sat in the same realm of what we're discussing. I think. That's so good. But yeah, Meta have said, you know what? Let's just take the ball by the horns. Let's train up the new school of data center builders.
Let's train those puppies. Indeed.
Which I think you love to see that. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, if you like to see beef jerky, then you like to see that, so it's fine.
If I'm a fan of beef jerky.
Anyway, that was a great panel. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Moving on, I'm conscious that we only got 20 minutes. I feel like we should move on to Chinese robots.
I think it's a great idea. That's an excellent idea.
Okay, so if you didn't see this came out yesterday. Chinese robot has beat a human's best time in the half marathon after a stumble, thanks to the Wall Street Journal for that nice title. In Singapore, a year ago in Beijing, humanoid robot half marathon race. The first runner to cross the finish line took more than 2.5 hours. In this year's event, the champion beat the fastest human ever. Sunday's race demonstrated China's rapid progress in humanoid robotics, a field American tech leaders, including Nvidia's Jensen Huang and Tesla's Elon Musk, says is the next big thing. Beijing also sees robotics as one of the top industries to drive its economy over the next 5 years. The winner was a humanoid called Lightning. Nice name. Developed by Chinese smartphone maker Honor. Still, it wasn't a perfect race. About 220 yards from the finish line, the 5'5" Lightning slammed into a barricade and collapsed. Oh, no. The red and black robot managed to get back up on its feet with the help of humans and ran across the finish line in 50 minutes and 20 seconds, according to the state media. Last month, the human record holder Jakob Kiplimo from Uganda finished roughly 30-mile race in 57 minutes and 20 seconds in Lisbon, which I think is the fastest half marathon course.
Like that. I mean, you can probably do the maths better than I can in your head because you're a runner, but I thought that was that's like 2 minutes something, or
it's like 2:13 or something stupid.
A kilometer.
Yeah. It's like our
13 miles.
It's like more than our sprinting type thing. Yeah. Anyway, can we pull up the video of this?
Yeah. I just want to go a little bit. Lightning has siblings. We need to share this with the world. Lightning and 2 siblings from Honor swept the podium. All 3 navigated the course without human control, excluding the one-time help the champion got. I love how they refer to him as the champion. That's quite cool.
The champion.
The race penalised the.
Did he get anything?
I don't know. Maybe a medal. I'm not sure if they want. Do they want one? Do they want praise?
Actually, this is the first time I've watched this video long enough that the robot's actually fallen over.
Okay, well, let's pull the video up there. We'll go back to the article just so the viewers can see.
It fell over and then it still won by like 7 minutes.
It's going incredibly fast. It's a little bit.
It's rapid.
Insane how fast this thing is going.
This is a tweet from Carl Chan. The Chinese humanoid robot just shattered the world records for a half marathon, finishing in 50 minutes and 26 seconds. This video shows its crash just meters before the finish line.
We can hear a lot of people are shouting that the robot is coming near us. Well, I can't see.
Oh,
yikes.
It's okay.
It is okay.
In the last 1 minute, let's see whether this robot can
see
right at the end.
Is this a world record if it had humans helping it up?
Well, I feel if a human ran into the
unassisted. Well, no, that's true.
It'd probably help them up and then let them continue racing.
Oh, he's got a stretcher.
Only 100 meters away from the finish line.
Then they're trying to like stop him from running into the barrier.
Oh, he's straight back up.
Right now you can see that for these humanoid robots stood on its feet, but if it cannot...
He's back. He's back up.
Come on.
Bring it home.
Final sprint.
Come on, you champion.
Bring it home.
How do you get it to stop? Oh no, they just turn it off. Nice,
look at that.
Congratulations to 001.
Congratulations.
This is the very first humanoid robot hit the finish
They could have called it something a bit better. 001.
That's kind of aura farming name. Yeah, that was nuts. The pace at which it's running is insane.
And then you've got wait, can you keep going? You've got another robot doing like the 6-7 thing. What is that? Why have they got a robot just like there?
That is so ridiculous. That caught me off guard. What is that doing there?
Tweet from Carl Chan. The robot from Honor, the smartphone maker and Huawei spin-off. This robot has teleported. This robot was teleoperated while others were autonomous. It seems like that all the robots had battery swaps along the way.
Okay, so a little bit of help.
So I don't know, guys. Is that unassisted? I don't know.
There's some more juice in the article that sort of touches on what they've been doing. So with the 13-mile course included more complex terrain than last year, such as slopes, narrow passages, and sharp turns, testing robots' ability to handle real-world environments and serving as an extreme stress test, said DM Wang, a tech analyst at Bernstein Research. Last year's race featured frequent stumbles by the competitors, and there were still some delays of robot futility this year. In video clips, robots were seen flailing around, stumbling and falling over. A title favourite this year from Unitree was one of China's top humanoid robot makers, collapsed several times and was taken off the track on a stretcher, leaving the race unfinished. It's hilarious how they use a stretcher. China is moving quickly to dominate the humanoid robotics industry and cement its place in the global supply chain. While the US controls the best chips and other technology for robot brains, China leads in the manufacturing ecosystem for humanoid bodies. Last year, at least 3 Chinese companies each shipped more than 1,000 humanoid robots, while no American maker delivered more than 500, according to research firm Omdia. Honor, which was spun off from Chinese telecommunication and chip giant Huawei in 2020 and started developing humanoid robots early this year, said its expertise in making consumer electronics has accelerated its development of humanoids. An Honor engineer on the winning team said its robot used liquid cooling technology adapted from Honor's smartphones, according to the state media. Last year's race saw some human operators manually applying cooling spray to prevent joints from overheating. I saw this. They were using some sort of dry ice spray on the robot to kind of cool it down.
What's that stuff that you use if deep freeze? Thanks.
You see a lot of parallels here with the humans. You know, the water cooling,
when
couple bottles of water on your head.
When I was a rower back in the day, that was like what you would like if you were on the rowing machine and like your back would start hurting, which is like fairly common for a rower. You'd have like slip discs and stuff. Like if you had a back injury,
that's tough.
And it was fairly common for people if they were kind of injured to have a back injury and normally get deep freeze on it or deep heat, whatever you want to do, and it would sort you right out.
There you go.
So the robots know what they're doing.
Maybe Honor had a slip disc in training or something.
I don't know that.
Quote here, just to finish us off, running faster may not seem meaningful at first, but it enables technology transfer. Du Zhao Dai, an Honor engineer behind Lightning, told State Media. I don't know about that, mate. I think running faster does seem pretty meaningful. It's kind of terrifying the way that thing was.
I think it's quite terrifying. I think the way that, you know, when they picked him up and or the robot up, and it was like just running, and they had to grab him by the collar. And it was literally like trying to go.
When the robot uprising happens, they're going to be the first to get attacked.
What the people training these things?
Honor, yeah.
Well, we haven't had the first like major kind of robot incident.
That's going to be crazy. I didn't even think about that.
That
when
will
that
happen
happens,
at some
that's
point.
going to be nuts, isn't it?
That will happen at some point.
Robot rampage. We did see. Did you see the headline for this was so funny, but it was like Polish robot chases warthog through town centre.
I saw that. Yeah.
I saw someone quote tweet.
I feel like that happening in Poland as well.
In Poland. But I saw someone quote tweet it like, "Not sure if I've woken up yet." I was in like, it's so ridiculous.
Anyway, let's move on to a Forbes article. But before the infrastructure for the on-chain world, go to base.org. There was a great Forbes article. I love this article so much about
this one's so cool.
Inside the pawn shop for the ultra rich. Now, this is a Forbes article that came out 2 days ago. From rare Rolexes to Birkin bags to multi-million-dollar art collections, wealth borrowers are unlocking quick cash from luxury assets, skipping banks and paperwork in favor of speed and discretion. Inside a climate-controlled room at lender Luxury Asset Capital's Manhattan office. Rows of Hermes bags line the shelves. Mini Kellys in exotic skins worth roughly $75,000 each. Diamond-encrusted Birkin bags and other limited edition pieces that are worth six figures. Nearby, a first edition of the Catcher in the Rye, which can sell for as much as $50,000, sits alongside a contemporary artwork, including Yoshitomo Nara drawing, worth more than $200,000. Down the hall, safes hold scores of Rolexes, diamonds, and gold jewelry, all meticulously tagged and sealed. And none of it is for sale. The items are all collateral, pledged by ultra-wealthy borrowers seeking quick cash. Denver-based Luxury Asset Capital runs its operation with the basic mechanics of a neighborhood pawn shop and the discretion of a Swiss bank. Borrowers pledge their watches, jewelries, and handbags and fine art in exchange for short-term, non-recourse loans, often funded within a day. One borrower who manages a large hedge fund, give me a sec, who manages a large hedge fund, hocked his wife's 8-carat diamond ring worth up to $600,000. After receiving a large margin call, the loan was eventually repaid and the ring was returned. Another client once brought in an Emmy award as collateral.
Oh yeah, this for the
bonkers.
For the cash poor asset rich. Can we pull this drawing up of a Yoshitomo Nara? Is that okay? Just get it on the screen. That's a beautiful drawing. It is. I hadn't heard of the artist or the collection previously, but that is an example of the type of stuff that these people are trading.
How much did that sell for? 50 grand.
I think it was 200 bags.
200 grand. $200,000
for a Yoshitomo Nara. Just wanted to make sure we got that on the stream. We can go back to the article now.
No, that's fine. Luxury asset lending sits at the intersection of wealth management and urgency. Cash poor but asset rich borrowers pledge high-end possessions in exchange for fast cash. Rather than selling them outright or navigating the paperwork and personal guarantees of traditional bank loans. Someone said, it's amazing how many people come to us and say, I didn't know I could do this, says Dewey Burke, founder and CEO of Luxury Asset Capital. Started in 2016, the firm reached profitability within its first year, and over the last decade has lent well north of $1 billion across its portfolio of brands, most notably Borrow, the company's online lending platform, as well as its physical locations in New York, Palm Beach, and Beverly Hills. Revenue was estimated at $65 million last year.
It's so nuts. They talk about one of the clients here. One of Borrow's clients in Beverly Hills once used the service to borrow roughly $30,000 against a custom Hermes mini Birkin she had commissioned after waiting nearly a year for it to be produced. She had paid about $33,000 for the piece and had been offered more than $50,000 on the secondary market, but wanted to hold on to it. I didn't want to sell it, she says. Owning a Hermes bag is not an opportunity that comes around every day. Instead, she used the loan to help finance renovations on a property she planned to flip. It gave me a bridge loan to get to the other side, she adds. Another business owner based in London says she has repeatedly borrowed against diamond-encrusted Birkins and Van Cleef and Arpels jewellery to help finance her business. In one instance, she shipped items overnight and received funds within hours. These are diamond Birkin bags sitting in my closet, she says.
As well.
In it. It's dangerous, actually. I mean, the insurance on that shipping must be insane.
It must be mental.
We're talking like, what are those like things, things full of air pocket things you put in the parcels that when you send it to make sure nothing breaks.
They'll be made of titanium.
Yeah, isn't it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
These are diamond Birkin bags sitting in my closet, she says. It gave me the opportunity to generate revenue instead of letting assets sit unused. Luxury asset collateral lending is not new, of course. In the 14th century, the Medici family pioneered modern banking practices in Florence for wealthy customers and simultaneously operated pawn shops at the low end. Interesting. Today, it is increasingly marketed as a white glove alternative to traditional pawn shops and private banks. Burke says the thesis for the business model was straightforward. Provide a reliable loan alternative to banks who traditionally don't know how to value luxury assets. Banks are kind of famous for saying, we don't know what we don't know, he says. If it's not real estate or marketable securities, we're just going to write that down to zero. Another appealing incentive is that these loans are non-recourse. If the borrower fails to repay, the firm keeps and sells the item. There are no credit checks, no income verification, and payouts often happen the same day.
I guess. So what's most interesting here is, right, they're leveraging they're leveraging what they would have had to do with, say, a Hermes bag, where you have to do a credit check probably because they're such expensive, items. You have to do credit checks or whatever. So, this is the classic example of just leveraging one like kind of huge thing, like a major corporation's direction on an investment or whatever. Like it's kind of like, I guess, following the VC, like say following a16z into a round, right? You're leveraging what they might know based on the capital and time and resources that they can put into the due diligence of a deal. You can leverage that, right? Same thing here, right? They've streamlined the process by leveraging all of that. I had a mate who started a community basically on the basis that people would know each other. So it was basically like a private community of people who owned assets. And you could only be part of the community if you had 5 mutuals within that community. And therefore it created the security around the community. The community was 30,000 people, right? But if someone did something wrong, and therefore they could skip all the paperwork, right? So like
pre-vetted.
So if and it was all run through an Instagram page, right? So if someone wanted to lend their house in Cornwall for the summer, you could go to the community, you could leverage the fact that everyone knows who everyone is, and therefore it's a trusted, vetted marketplace of people. You're not just chucking it on Airbnb.
You're probably all
no one.
similar like net worth.
Exactly. Well. And if you know them, if they do something wrong or whatever, or they try and scam you, you've got at least 5 people all pointing a finger being like, I know that person.
Yeah.
It's so clever, right? And it's leveraging it's leveraging like the trust that's already been put in place.
Was there like a access fee or something? Like how do you monetize that?
Transaction. So every time you post, you would charge to post on the Instagram page. So it was literally a private Instagram page.
Interesting.
Charge $30 to post.
You're like, hey, I want to rent this house in Cornwall. Or like, hey, I want to rent my house in Cornwall.
Here's all the photos. Here's the description.
Here's like $5,000.
I'm renting my thing, and they would just be the intermediary, and they would just like pay. For a post, like you can charge loads, but I think they were charging very small amounts just because it was such a great little cash cow.
Damn. Money to be made everywhere.
Great business.
Sounds good. I guess that's all for now on the inside the pawn shop for the ultra rich.
Yeah, let's quickly jump into the town square. Before we do that, leave updated business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Let's move on to Daniel Wartle, London's tweet. He said, "It's not just new, it's newspeak."
This is for me one of the scarier. This is one of the scarier images that I've seen related to, I guess, what's happening in AI in generally. But this is it's not just X, it's Y, or like it's not just this, it's that. And essentially the image lays out uses of the not just it's A_. Sentence structure roughly doubled in large US company documents in both 2024 and 2025. This could probably be directly linked to the increased usage in model providers that are entering into the enterprise, essentially, because this is a native AI speak. It's an out. It's the Inglorious Bastards holding up 3 fingers the wrong way. It shows that for those who aren't native to the industry using AI, they might think that they can get away with this, but those who are in the know, it's very obvious that that's AI speak. It's one of the most obvious things you'll see. That's not just a market shift; it's a vibe change. Everyone knows that type of stuff is obviously come from AI, but that is insane. The amount of how much that is getting used in US company documents. And I think that was including like anyone connected to law in general as well, like any sort of papers that have been prepared within that ecosystem.
Well, dude, so an example, like, obviously this is a very small microcosmic example, but think how many PR emails that we get, right?
And that's so AI.
They're so AI. Guys, if you're a PR person, listen to me right now. Write your emails, because it really helps to get the guest on the show. Because it's like a huge email, and like you can see the M dashes, you can see that it's not X, it's Y vibe. You know, you can see it, and it's like, well, you haven't put any effort in, so see you later.
The ones we were
obviously if it's a big guess.
Yeah,
like,
it's a great guess, great news, and that's great. But like the ones where it's a genuine pitch, if you send us a Bible of information, like, we've had this before where it's like thousands of words in an email. I can't even see who the guest is. Like I don't even know who that
I'm like
is. But then
scanning for the guest for like
we get some that are
9
like,
years.
hey, guest name, guest role, news, like that's a really good one. And I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is really easy to understand. This is really like low friction. Let's just, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a quick message for the PR team. You're doing a great job. Anyway.
Quick message.
We're loving what you guys are sending us anyway.
Anyway, we have GRITCULT coming into the show. Before we do that, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Here is GRITCULT on ETN for the second time.
The menace of London, the anonymous
Hello,
menace
sir.
of London.
How is it going? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
Good.
Dude, how are we? How's it going? How's it been since we last caught up?
I'm good. I'm just kind of offended by you calling me the anonymous menace of London.
I mean, it comes from a place of love, GRITCULT. You know that. But
It's all good. All good.
Let's talk about your viral sensation. It seems to be happening quite a lot recently. When we gave a slight intro on the show this morning about what we'd be covering, essentially we used the line "marketing is dead" to intro your essay. I've noted out a few sort of clear points that we'd love to get your take on and why it's in the article. But I guess just to start, why is marketing dead?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a complete kind of paradigm shift from the marketing perspective of instead of being the traditional kind of, campaign-oriented system to a fully integrated, loop that kind of also integrates well with social media and technology first. So, what I was trying to really point out in the article is that you need to think of, what's the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and then kind of build that into the platform and protocol, wherever you're building from a first perspective. And it's not just applicable to tech, but it's also applicable to other types of businesses. So like a coffee shop that prioritizes TikTokification, having Instagrammable kind of highlights. And that's something I'm kind of seeing a lot more. So the dish is designed to be, filmed on and put on social media. So that's the way I was kind of thinking about it. And that's not really a marketing way, I think. I think it's more of a kind of distribution first kind of way. And that it's more deeper and more ingrained than just trying to do a campaign for something to try to drive awareness. It's like a full cycle perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of leads us into the next question of what does this system look like that people will be deploying over? Well, they already are, but again, how will we see it increase? And it's this idea of the chief clipping officer, I guess. What is this? What is the new paradigm?
Yeah, so I think we're seeing it more and more. I think we're going in that direction of, just focusing on distribution as the core outcome. And, as recent news, as you guys are probably going to cover, is, the whole MTS thing, the whole launch, TVPN being acquired. I think that just puts us into look, we need to have an always on kind of way, and volume is kind of key. A lot of people were kind of, saying, is it quantity versus quality? Now, quantity is a quality of its own. So I think that's argument has kind of been settled. We still have to have things that are repostable, shareable, all this, but it comes from, a volume perspective. So that's how it looks like. So, again, going back to the restaurant example is how many times can people be shared, and can you incentivize people to share? Will they get a free ticket if they leave a review? Things of that nature. So that's the way I kind of see it. And then something I was kind of talking about was just how AI is going to completely force multiply all these kind of things. So I mean that's already being in effect. I think I don't want to give a prescriptive hey, this is how you do it, because I think those tools are very kind of nascent at the moment. I'm still experimenting with different workflows. I've got multiple different agents kind of going on. Experimenting with I just recently installed Lindy. I've been using Hermes, OpenClaw. So yeah, I mean, it's a wide variety of things, and I think it's just a kind of mindset of look, this is the end goal. let's not really focus too much on, quote unquote marketing. Let's focus on how can we get this to the most amount of people that fit our ICP, for instance.
Yeah. And the, what stood out to me most when reading it was, I guess, the kind of moat that software engineers were able to have when no one else could go and build the thing, right? But now that's kind of flipped on its head, and the thing that's most valuable is the distribution of said thing that a lot more people can go and build. And so a lot of people aren't necessarily now hamstrung by, I can't go and build this thing, or I need $30,000 to go and do that. It is now, I need to just get distribution. Can you talk to us about how the role of like the software engineer is going to change on like or you think is going to change in like a broad kind of sense? Because I think you have a good take on it.
Yeah, so I think there's still always going to be software engineers. I think there's a very deep discipline and like tech skill tree. I think that will exist, but I think the barriers to entry will be lower. So like, me and you, we can make stuff now that we couldn't make 5 years ago. And, we're like whatever, like non-technical. And so I think like that's kind of shifted. But I think also the way startups and companies are going to hire that's going to shift. So one thing that I've noted with two major companies, one is Cluely and one is Wob. If you have a social following, they will prioritize you over someone who may be more like academically inclined. Yeah. So everyone on the Cluely team has their own distribution built in. Wob are also kind of like working with people who have like 50 to 100K followers. They're trying to get them in. So and I alluded to this, like you need to like hire people and build with people who kind of like have a like a first principles understanding of like how to like build a following, and then and I think like just prioritizing that kind of bleeds into like the product decisions. So like every day, like what color should this be? Like how should we shape this button? Like things of that nature. Like those decisions, which are downstream of like how to like build a social first kind of brand as well. So it all kind of bleeds into each other.
Yeah, what I loved about the way that you wrote it was companies are now going to be hiring to rent the audiences of their employees, something along those lines. And I loved the way that you put that. Can you talk to us about how you think, can you go deeper onto that, right? How are companies now thinking about hiring in, you obviously mentioned that these companies will be kind of hiring more people with followings, but like, what does that look like for someone who does want to be hired by the top kind of tech companies, right?
Yeah, so, I gave two examples, Cluely and Wob. I think just kind of like going deeper, I think, if you're young right now, like I basically tell everyone I meet, just start posting, start building a presence, just start like networking. And I think the way like framing it as rent, because when you're working with a company, you're going to be posting about them. You're going to be like trying to engage and you're going to try to move the needle in that front. I think for a lot of people I talk to, especially like software engineers, they are still like, they don't really like social media as much, but like the people who do, they're going to have like, I think, a 10x kind of difference because they can connect with consumers directly, customers directly. Yeah. And, just have that. So my tips would be, just start posting more, start into like, interacting with people that you want to interact with and you have like common, hobbies with, whatever, like common interests. And what that builds is like, that builds a direct pipeline. Like, oh, look, this guy's interesting. Let's see what he's working on. Which company is he working on? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge part. And then one final thing I'd say on that is like, brand accounts aren't as important as like the personal accounts or founder accounts as much anymore. So if you want to be a founder, you have to kind of like, think about this. And there is a whole economy around just like, founder ghostwriting, founder marketing, just helping founders put their thoughts out there in coherent, cogent ways. So
Yeah, you mentioned your tech stack and what you're kind of playing around with. How much of and then obviously like this economy that you're right? Like kind of founder branding, positioning, all of that kind of stuff is a huge market. Can you maybe go deeper on is AI worth it to help build your audience, and how like specifically can people kind of build their audience like with AI helping them, right? Or is it literally sit down and write the pieces yourselves, kind of make sure you kind of post 3 to 5 times a day, you know, all the standard stuff. Like what is it, right? Is it like go down the AI route with a bunch of agents helping you kind of create content, or is it kind of more, you know?
So yeah, I don't think it's fully like, I think it's very hard to like fully delegate and just kind of leave it on all the time. I think there does need to be like a human input and kind of review, making sure it's on the right path. So the way I kind of use AI is like, you know, if I'm trying to build a post, I'll give it a bunch of context. I'll feed it, you know, a bunch of sources. So like that article, believe it or not, I built in 2 prompts. So, you know, building 2 prompts, it got about 1 million impressions. And I just like, you know, I gave it 1 prompt with a bunch of context with like, you know, other pieces of things. And then it knew my, right there, I've got a skill, GRITCULT skill. So it knows my voice. And then I just kind of like, you know, gave it 1 prompt, that's 1 prompt, and another prompt to say like, oh, look, you know, tailor it so it's like more like this, X, Y, Z. And I just edited it for like, you know, 30 minutes and posted it. So, you know, so like that's a force multiplier. That essay, if, you know, 10 years ago, that would have taken me a long time to kind of put together, and I can do that within an hour. So yeah, that's just an example. So yeah, like I think context is key here, and the more context you have, the better. So me personally, I have like probably over like 5,000 tweets saved up in like spreadsheets that I've been collecting over time. I think 5,000 is conservative. I have roughly 400 of my own tweets in the spreadsheet, and that includes and I have my essays, and I have my manifestos, and I have like a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I mean, just kind of building that context up. And I think the people who were kind of data nerds, they were like tracking things. So you know, I get my blood checked, I get, you know, all these like stats checked every now and again. I have access to the like, you know, my entire like life database. I, you know, Ura, Loop, Whoop. I think those people are going to kind of win because they already have like a huge amount of context. I can just like, hey, just put it into ChatGPT, and it goes from there.
Let's on that premise as a whole, sort of like being more efficient with AI in general. Like, let's talk about the Claude example that you reference in the article as well. That for me was just a nuts discovery, and I think I saw it doing the rounds like maybe a couple of weeks ago. But can you maybe just go over that again? Like, how are Anthropic crushing at this?
Yeah, so Anthropic, their growth team or marketing team is just one guy, and they're like, you know, fully leveraging AI to kind of run stuff. So they've been doing it as I feel like a, you know, kind of automated process, but they do a lot of kind of paid marketing, whereas I kind of do a lot more organic stuff. But they are, again, like this goes back to my earlier point of like just feeding it context, just feeding it over and over, and like, you know, giving it as much memory as possible. So, you know, the guy, Claude, I've forgotten his name, but essentially like every creative they ran, every kind of like CPM, every kind of metric that came out, every campaign, you know, they would just, you know, pull it, feed it, and then regurgitate and keep going over and over. And then that's something, again, would have taken, you know, weeks and days or whatever. And now it can be done in like literally minutes. So just having that kind of process where you are like, you know, creating data and then training your own AI agent on that data, I think is like, that's the kind of mindset and framework I'm kind of like trying to push here.
Mm-hmm. And then, sorry, you go.
Okay.
I was going to say, like, you kind of outlined 4 levels to the adoption of this or the structure. Would love to get your thoughts on, I guess, that in chronological order. Like, what is it? Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, so the initial kind of levels are essentially just trying to get you to like up to speed. So like, this is what you can do. This is what you can do with AI, which kind of matched like the base standard of what like, you know, a team of 5, you know, like a marketing department could do a few years ago. Yeah. And then taking it to the next level is kind of a systematic AI-driven approach where you can have these clipping campaigns, you can have these ambassador campaigns where, you know, you're paying a bunch of creators for, you know, CPMs. And then what you can do is just like have these systems kind of run on in parallel. So probably a level 4 system, what that would look like is you have a kind of like, you know, dedicated hardware to run real farms essentially. So these are, like you can have like a bunch of phones where they just constantly like posting clips and re-editing clips, and that can be all automated. So again, that's like a very distribution heavy kind of thing. And that just kind of like gets it out there. So with that, the goal is for like only one of them needs to hit for the entire kind of, account to be risen up. So that's what people are trying to do. They've just, it's trying to play roulette with the algorithm in a certain sense.
That makes sense. We are at time. It always goes by very quick when you join us, GritCult, and we're incredibly grateful of that. We'd love to do this again. As always, you're welcome on the show anytime. Thanks for tuning in with us.
And congrats, killing it on the article. Good stuff.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, guys. Peace.
Have a good one.
See you soon.
Ciao.
Awesome stuff. Leading updated business banking behind with Airwallix. Go to airwallix.com.
Up next on the show, we have Kieran coming in to join us, founder at About Energy. They've got some awesome news about some new grant funding. So let's dig into it with Kieran.
Hello, sir. How's it going?
Kieran, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, and looking forward to the speed chat and a great transition between me and the last presenter.
Thanks, we've been working on it, mate. Thank you for coming on. We are buzzing to talk to you about the news a little bit more. Maybe for the viewers and the listeners at home, do you want to introduce About Energy, and then we can go into the grant funding as well?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's a great place to start. I'm one of the co-founders of About Energy. My background is actually in battery research. So I'm a material scientist by background, and spent the best part of a decade trying to really understand how batteries perform, and then actually use that data and understanding to support industry with making better decisions around their design. And that's really where About Energy has grown and established its focus. Like, our focus as a company is using data and modeling, so virtual design, to help people designing battery systems. So that could be electric planes, cars, robotics, even Formula One. Again, batteries are so widely used. The key thing is, can we use data and modeling to actually extend their lifetime, improve their fast charging? And that's what we do as a company. And we have a lab here in London where we actually collect data from these batteries and then leverage that data into a very easy to use software, which is part of the news today to really speak about.
Mm-hmm. And talk to us about the news.
Let's dig into the grant funding.
Yeah, exactly. So as you said, we've recently been awarded a £2.5 million project under the industrial strategy in the UK. So there's a big focus now within UK government to actually find and scale these very deep technologies, and batteries has been on that agenda. And as a part of that strategy, we've been selected in a consortium with two of our partners to do what I just said, which is build this software and this data set to better facilitate how companies actually build their systems and go to market. And the focus of the project specifically is, in the last 5 years, we've identified such a critical gap in industry, which is companies build systems without understanding how long they'll last in the field. And we've seen this firsthand from even large car companies, which have an insane amount of capital and an insane amount of time to understand this phenomenal battery lifetime.
Sure.
But then when we look at these other industries, such as planes, robotics, motorsports, they don't have the same time and the same resource to do that. So this project is really us building this very kind of widespread data set to answer that question on battery lifetime. So can we predict how long a battery system will last given a use case before that company builds the system? And as a software provider, we're kind of really focused and excited around these smaller players, which are really where the UK, Europe, the West is providing some differentiation to China.
Sure. And I want to go a little bit deeper into that. But before we do that, I want to kind of zoom out and talk to you and just get your take on what does the 10-year future of kind of battery use look like? You've mentioned in planes, you've mentioned, in things like F1, so commercial kind of stuff as well. Can you talk to us about, the kind of high level direction of where batteries will be, is going? I want to get your take.
Yeah, really good question. And there's this phrase that we're coining in the battery industry that
Nice.
we're entering the battery industry 3.0. And to kind of discuss what battery industry 3.0 is, let's start at the start of where lithium-ion batteries and the battery industry was founded. So in the early 1990s, that's really where Sony and some UK researchers, which won a Nobel Prize, actually commercialized the battery. And that ushered in, I guess, a industry that a lot of us millennials are familiar with, which is consumer electronics. So if that's TV remotes or laptops or mobile phones, like they were facilitated by this industry one, which allowed us to actually design these devices with the right energy storage system. And then the one that we've been kind of recognizing in the news for the last 5-10 years is the second part of that transition, which is really around automotive and EVs. And 10 years ago, there was hardly a single electric vehicle in the road. And now day to day, we see a number of them, and that's only increasing. So there's been this real drive based on the commercial scaling of these batteries, but also their improvement in performance into this automotive industry and making that possible. And now that's really like scaling. There's now a new outlook on where, as you say, batteries can go next. And the battery industry 3.0 is what we're characterizing as high performance. So whether that's humanoid robotics, electric planes, motorsports, even drones to deliver parcels and do surveillance, we're seeing these use cases, which are very niche today, but popularized in the news. That's really where the industry is going, and where we're seeing a number of other UK and European startups actually building in these spaces and verticals. And fundamentally, these other startups and their business models have only been unlocked in being possible due to the improvements in battery performance and the reductions in battery cost.
Yeah. So within that, then, like, you're essentially able to like map out performance pre-build. I'm pretty sure is what we were discussing yesterday, and like a little bit right now. What does that unlock then for comparing like old ways to new ways? What changes here for, I guess, the manufacturers?
Yes, it's a very good question, and a great example of that is we work with a number of UAV, a number of drone companies, and one of the critical development challenges they have is they're developing a new platform and they want to maximize the flight time and the lifetime of that platform. And that is a consequence of how good the battery system or the battery technology is. But they have a very critical challenge where when you come to develop a new platform, there's hundreds of different products, so different cell types you could actually use in that product. So what we're seeing is this decision made with sparse or imperfect data. They're not able to actually accurately assess and trade off these different battery chemistries. So often they're choosing a suboptimal system, which means flight time could be 20-30% less, battery cost could be 20-40% higher, fast charging could be 10% less. So really what we're allowing these companies to do is rather than having to invest the time into assessing all these different battery types or making a decision without that data, and with our platform they're able to select these batteries and compare them in their unique mission profile.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned something at the beginning, and I said, I'd want to go deeper onto it. The kind of focus, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but the focus on I guess the smaller wins. I don't want to say it in a wrong way, but the smaller wins in the West and in Europe compared to China. Is that the correct way of saying your focus in Europe and what you guys are doing there, instead of like focusing on kind of like, I guess, the East?
Yes, a very good question. And like as a company, our focus is in terms of the OEMs, the people making the battery systems, is in the West. And these are companies typically wanting to build very high performing systems in UAVs, robotics, aviation. But where we work very closely with the East is over 95% of batteries we see are still made in Asia, and that has kind of that's not changing anytime soon. So when we look at where those batteries come from, China, Taiwan, South Korea are over 95% of that volume. although in the last few years and in the future, we are seeing upcoming regulation in Europe and in the US that's actually changing the way companies might have to source and select new batteries. In the US, there's new regulation, which means certain companies will have to actually buy cells made in the US. And that's really why we're building and have built this platform and cell marketplace, just to allow people to trade off the performance, the environmental, and then the regulatory aspects of battery cell choice, because it's such a multifaceted decision that it's very complex for these small companies or emerging companies to make the right choice in the space.
In terms of the trade-off then, and those three things you mentioned, can you see, like, I'm sure you can, that like the trends within what people are therefore trading off, and what are they like, oh, okay, we will trade that off to be better in this other element. What are the trends within that kind of over time since you started building this?
It's a good question, and it does vary very much depending on the vertical we're exploring.
Yeah.
I guess to give you some examples, in automotive, in the news, there's always talk of fast charging times or vehicle range.
Yeah,
actually,
sure.
one of the main trends people have been motivated by in that space is cost. Like, companies want to reduce the cost of the vehicle and the system as much as possible, and those other metrics are secondary to that when you're scaling such a big fleet. And then when we look at UAVs, the metric people care about most is battery energy density, because that's a direct factor in what influences flight time and your mission economics, which is a very different metric, and why these companies choose very different batteries. And then when we look at Formula One or maybe even Formula E, in motorsports, these batteries have to provide a lot of acceleration and a lot of power very quickly. So power density is a metric these companies are very interested in. So we do see this differentiated down selection of these different performance metrics and even kind of economic metrics, depending on the industry they're in, the size of the company, and sometimes where they're even geographically based. And that's what we've really aimed to do and built, is like, people care about the metrics they care about. And you can't build a one-size-fits-all kind of data sheet, which manufacturers do. You need to give them the tools to make the decisions in the way that they want to make that decision.
Yeah. Within that, is there something around this space or the way it's trending that people are misunderstanding or maybe not aware of from like a hot topic right now is just general sort of data sovereignty, but also sovereignty. This seems like a pretty core part of a nation's ability to be sovereign, I guess, in a way. Like, are there any conversations around that in this space at the moment that you guys are crossing into at all? Or?
Good question. What do you mean specifically by data sovereignty? Is that kind of the tracking of data and where it comes from, or
less so ownership? Less so data sovereignty, more just like sovereignty in general seems to be like a hot topic. And does this cross into that work? I'm seeing like it's a commodity. Like, how does is that a conversation that you guys are having at all at the moment or not?
Yes, it's a really good question. And within the battery industry, whether that's UK or Europe or the US, we are seeing a push to build a sovereign battery industry, which is, we want to do as much within batteries as possible. And what the difficulty there has been is we've tried to build what we want, not necessarily build what we can be best at. I guess an example of that is like China, very effective at making vehicles and even battery factories. In the US and the West, we have tried to replicate that same scale, but not to the same success. So where I see us really building sovereignty is not trying to replicate what Asia does. It's trying to understand where the UK and Europe can be better. And I think an example I gave before we discussed this was, like, rather than being a part of the value chain, we're seeing a lot of successful startups building the tools, like the picks and shovels for this transition, whether that's software or like, I guess, ESG tracking. Like, these tools are really important across that global value chain. And there's a question as to whether we can build lithium in Cornwall or a factory in kind of the north of England. But what I think the UK is very effective in is taking our deep understanding of technology and research and actually leveraging that across the world. And that's really where we set up the company and where we've had a lot of success.
Yeah, awesome. We're just coming up to the end. Is there anywhere that we can send people, a website, socials or anything? Where can we point viewers?
Yeah, so like the main platform we have, which is public and people can view the battery data and the capabilities we have, is vault.aboutenergy.io, or just Google Vault About Energy, and that provides a suite of data and the kind of the main technologies we're tracking, characterizing, and providing these companies with an understanding of.
Yeah, awesome. Kieran, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the amazing news as well.
No, thank you, and great to catch up, Luke and Ronan, and yeah, good luck with the next speaker. Cool. Awesome. Cheers, guys. Speak soon. Thanks for having me on.
Ciao. Legend. Congrats to the team at About Energy.
That was super interesting. We haven't actually had any battery professionals on the show yet.
No, I don't think so.
Number one. Anyway, before we move on, Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. I think we have our next guest.
We do. We've got Yang Li coming into the building as we speak. Yang Li, Cosine, recently awarded 500,000 GPU hours on supercomputer Isambard AI. We've got Yang Li, co-founder of CosineAI in the house. What's up?
Hey, good to be here. How are you guys today?
Yeah, we're doing really well. We're doing really well. Thank you for joining us. Before you came on, I was looking at your at Cosine's X account. You guys had an awesome launch recently that did some great numbers. I mean, it might have been a couple of weeks ago, but like 260,000 impressions. The Swarm stuff, a huge fan. Looks really cool. But before we get into that, maybe I always get ahead of myself. Do you want to introduce you and CosineAI, and also the recent news with Sovereign AI as well? Very topical. If you could just sort of break that down for everyone, then we can get into the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm co-founder of Cosine. We are an AI lab. Essentially, what we are is like we're competing against the frontier labs, but we find a couple of niches that we excel at, and our customers appreciate that. For us, that specifically is making sure that our models is state of the art at generalist coding, but also in niche languages such as COBOL, Fortran, Ada, even to a certain extent, slightly more modern ones like stuff like C#, that most people think is modern, but is actually still out of distribution for most frontier labs as well. And then, of course, we focus on coding as our first point of entry, and our unique selling point, which a lot of our regulated customers and our kind of in the defense sector or financial services appreciate, is that we can deploy our entire solution fully air-gapped. So there's no internet connection, there's no data ingress or egress.
Wow. Okay. Super cool. A bunch of questions. What is the founding story here? Like, why was this needed? Why was this necessary? What drove you to this?
Yeah. So actually, my co-founder and I, Ali, we were, just coming out of our last startups as well, and this is a typical British story where we were in the pub, and he said, "You've got to meet me in the pub. I've got to show you something." And this is when GPT-3 came out, but pre-ChatGPT. And so we were slightly ahead of the curve in kind of like playing with AI. Like we had both, particularly Ali had played around with BERT or GPT-2 models, but they were never quite clever enough. But no, this was an aha moment where he built essentially a prototype of being able to have AI generate code, understand that code, and continue to modify it and daisy chain it. And this was before everyone else came out. But we thought, actually where the potential was legacy code bases, where code bases existed already, but that was very difficult. So we spent the last 2.5 years improving our models, improving our own capability, and all of that stuff. And now we've reached a point where actually we've reached that inflection point where our model is fantastic in generally coding like everyone else is state of the art, but specifically we have figured out how to generate and build RL environments to train our model to be fantastic at niche or kind of legacy coding languages.
I want to dive deeper into that journey of like finding the niche, right? There's always a lot of talk, specifically in Europe, about if we want to stay ahead of the curve and be kind of at the top of at the top of the AI race or whatever, it is we need to find niches that we can win in, and not necessarily go and attack the kind of frontier labs head on with what they can do best. Can you talk to us about the strategy of like finding that niche? Was that was that a strategy from day one, knowing that we have to find this particular niche instead of kind of going generally against the frontier labs? Yeah, talk to us about that, because it's super interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't have anything new here to add, right? We're a YC alum company, and we have lots of friends who have gone through. I know you had Chaz from Model ML come up a couple of weeks ago, and we know him very well. We listen to our customers, right? We started building something that we thought was cool and capable, and then very quickly people talked to us, and then we were pushing the boundaries of what was possible. I have a early story where dealing with OpenAI, where we were pushing what even their infrastructure was possible in terms of doing supervised fine tuning, and then we were pushing the boundaries of what was possible in reinforcement learning. And I'll never forget this moment where we met Sam Altman, where we were at the offices. He pulled up a chair in the canteen, sat backwards on it, and what can I do for you? And we gave him a huge wish list, and that, in terms of trying to push the boundaries of what was possible at every stage of our life cycle, has always paid us dividends. And park that together with listening to your customers and building what they want, just takes you to a place where it's pretty good. It's not a linear journey for sure. Every founder who tells you they were overnight success is probably lying to you. We definitely had some ups and downs and some struggles, but I think it generally puts you in the right direction by listening to your customers and building to, again, what is maybe 3 to 6 months ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I love that. You said, I don't have anything else to add, but you ended up having a great answer. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, sorry, go. Yeah.
Sorry. It kind of leads me on to another thing that I want. Your banner on Cosine is built for engineers with taste. And you guys are talking, you're talking specifically about how you listen to customers and knowing what they want and building that in a very tasteful way. And obviously that is an element of taste. Can you talk to us about the way that you build Cosine and therefore the way that you want engineers to experience using the Cosine product?
Yeah, I think what we optimize for is we try and tackle what really annoys people who use our product, right? So with AI, for the very first time, you're now hitting a product hundreds of times if you are, an AI addict. And that there are small, not to use this term like out of context, but there are small microaggressions that are using Claude Code, as you're using Cursor, and we try and tackle those. And there are small annoyances for large enterprise customers. We talk to defense customers, we talk to financial service customers, and they say, we want assurance by design, right? We are sold and convinced by the output and the productivity increase, and we want to use it, but we are regulated, and by law, we can't take certain risks, but the output isn't assured by design. So we build much more detailed audit trails and logs in our product. We are very maximalist in the information we show our customers rather than trying abstracting that away. I think there's a tendency to try and keep things quite clean in our industry, mainly because it's good design, but we have faith in that our customers want that information, and it's up to them to kind of do what they want with that information once we expose it.
Nice.
Yeah. Isn't that seems to be a quite like a reoccurring, in a way, a moat against some of the frontier labs that are maybe coming into these enterprise companies, where essentially they can't focus or specifically maybe create an environment that's specifically right for that enterprise, right? Because they'll have natural guardrails. Maybe some of them are a little bit slower to adapt. But how are the conversations with enterprise customers around this technology? Are there guardrails up for the labs? I'm sure that's just not a jigsaw that fits together perfectly well all the time.
Yeah, I think you need to segment the space a little bit better, right? So there are companies that would accept a cloud solution, in which case it's a very crowded space. Claude Code is fantastic. OpenAI Codex is fantastic. But these frontier labs usually, and I've not encountered, and I've had hundreds of conversations, I've yet to encounter where they say Anthropic will deploy their model weights inside a customer's infrastructure, right? They're not going to give up their trade secrets and their model weights and know exactly what makes Claude Opus 4.7 tick, and allow every engineer inside, JP Morgan, hypothetically, to understand what makes them special. What we do is unique in the sense that we give them a managed product, which is as competitive on public benchmarks, but also we prove to them actually their specific niche use cases is, miles ahead of what a an open source model can be, or even the closed source providers are. And we crucially, we give them both the scaffolding, the harness, the product, the management, the ongoing updates, and a model that is uniquely trained to be specifically for them. And I think the sovereign aspect of, last week's announcement was essentially the last major unlock for us as well, where we all of a sudden, the UK specifically now has a homegrown Mistral competitor. Right? France and Macron is fantastic at promoting Mistral, or Mistral if you're French, as a homegrown solution, but we yet to have one so far in the UK.
Yeah, and let's talk about that relationship between you guys and Sovereign AI. It's obviously great news for the country. We had James Wise on the other day, just announcing everything, and it looked like it was smiles all around at the event. Well, how did that come about, and also like what does it actually mean?
Yeah, I think typically, with startups, we heard from a friend of a friend about Sovereign AI. We didn't have an insider track. We speak to a lot of customers who suggested, have you looked into this? And we truthfully didn't know what it was. And then when we looked into it, we thought this was genuinely for us the last unlock. We always said to our customers, we are a sovereign solution, other than the fact that we don't train and we often can't inference if you're using a VPC solution. On sovereign infrastructure. And this was like a lot of interest from our existing customer conversations where, we will sign, we will expand our contracts if you can provide this last hurdle. And so, we just, we didn't have an insider track. We applied, we filled out a couple of forms. We spoke to a couple of people. We spoke to obviously Josephine and Will, and then James. And then, eventually we went through the hoops, and it is just fantastic. Actually, we do have a lot of conversations for public sector. It is often, as you would imagine, quite slow. But actually Sovereign AI is a breath of fresh air. It was fast moving. It was, felt at the pace of Silicon Valley. They were very pragmatic in terms of working with us and making sure that we got something out of it, as well as the British public benefiting in the long run. It was just a fantastic experience overall.
That's awesome. Great. And I guess like moving back to Cosine, so you guys had a launch last week. I'm pretty sure the thing that stood out to me was this sort of swarm mode. That's obviously just one small part of it. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit about the launch itself, and then I personally want to know a bit more about swarm mode.
Yeah, I think for us, it's like, we basically six months ago, we decided that actually the tools were still kind of fragmented. And actually, we wanted one coding agent across every surface you worked across, right? Whether that is a desktop, Linux, Mac, Windows, on the web, in your CLI, in headlessly by integrations with Linear, Jira, Azure DevOps, if you're an enterprise. We wanted one coding agent. And then, we wanted the power of being able to run essentially remote agents as well, right? Like we didn't want to have the ceiling to be so low where you can only launch, 3, maybe 4 agents concurrently. We wanted to run 30, 40, 50. And a lot of our customers trigger off their entire backlog all in one go. And so we wanted to launch this updated product where it was across every single surface. We built a new model. We trained a new model, which again was building all the smaller models we had trained for our customers and building into a bigger model that everyone can have access to. And there's a few things that we focus on, which, is a given. So we are very good at modern coding languages. We obviously use our expertise at legacy coding languages, but there's a couple more things that we optimize for with this new launch, which is slop and also maintainability, right? I know slop is a trendy word in the AI industry, but I think if you are an engineer who is using Claude Code or Cursor or something else, Codex on a daily basis, you will realize that actually, there's a tendency to rewrite brand new algorithms when it doesn't need to, right? It doesn't use existing code snippets when it can just do a copy and paste job. What we do is that we actually spend a lot of time synthesizing and building our own proprietary databases and data sets, right? To train the model to be fantastic at actually behaving like a human would. Why would you reinvent the wheel every single time just because you can? And I think a lot of developers really appreciate that and can already feel that vibe, that kind of sloppiness being reduced. Again, I don't have the silver bullet, but I do think it's definitely a step towards the right direction. And every couple of weeks we release a non-version update to our model where it's getting better and better. And that's a major release for us. And obviously the last piece is we still continue to offer our entire product stack, whether it's the scaffolding, the product itself, the the model itself can all still be deployed fully air-gapped, right? And that is still unique. There is open source tooling, and there's also open source models, but a lot of our customers don't currently feel comfortable deploying a Chinese open source model. And really you don't have many options unless you go with us, which is a large parameter size, specialist, low slop, niche coding language model that a lot of our customers demand.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. Just coming up, we've got about sort of 50 seconds left. Where can we point people? Where can we send viewers? Where can we help direct traffic and attention towards?
Yeah, I think so. I might regret this, but drop me an email at yang@cosine.sh, right? I'm still of the belief that the founders should get the feedback directly. Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. So yeah, Yang is YANG @cosine.sh, or just go to our website and drop us and try it out. We give away 20 million free tokens, and so people are more than welcome to try it out.
We can clip the email readout and put it into our clipping.
If you don't
army.
get any emails, that's super embarrassing for us as well.
No,
we can send it into the clipping army and have it distributed. Yang, thank you so much for joining us. Been an absolute pleasure, and welcome back anytime. Congrats on the new stuff, the new partnership as well. Really cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you guys.
Great conversation. Cheers, man. Thanks. Good
next.
stuff. Before we have our next guest on Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world, go to base.org. Now we have our next guest on.
It's Harvey Hodd.
He's back in the game.
For the second time, we're chatting to Harvey Hodd. Not on ETN though. It's co-founder at Rivan off the back of a 34 million Series A. Harvey, how are we?
Very good. Very well. Thank you for having me.
We need a fade out of that, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit abrupt when it stops.
Yeah.
It kind of
Pretty harsh. Pretty harsh.
Yeah. Did you feel that? It was a bit.
Yeah, the intensity's there though, which is good.
That's good. Mate, we haven't spoken in a few months, almost a year maybe. I remember last time we spoke, it was on ETSL. I remember as well, you also joined with a whiteboard behind you.
Different one.
It is slightly different.
But still filled with stuff that we don't understand. So.
Yeah, indeed, barely legible. But good that you remembered that.
Yeah. Well, I remembered it because I thought it was a high aura moment. I thought that if someone joins with like a bunch of really cool equations behind them on the whiteboard, that's like a really cool thing to do. Yeah, high aura backdrop. Anyway, we can leave that high aura stuff to the side. Moving on to more high aura stuff, let's talk about the 34 million Series A announced. This is incredible news. Walk us through the raise. Who's on the cap table? Who are the angels? Just talk us through the funding.
Sure, yeah. So when we spoke originally, we just raised a £10 million seed. We're basically with the aim of before even this, Rivan's a synthetic fuel producer. So we're a vertically integrated manufacturer of systems that make synthetic fuel. We're aiming to do that at country scale and fossil fuel prices, basically. And ultimately create huge domestic production of energy and specifically of fuel in Europe. Obviously very salient right now, important for a number of reasons. But yeah, we raised 10 million last year with the aim of taking our kind of early designs and early product onto a mass scale and building customer demand. That's essentially what we've been doing for the last 12 months or so.
Nice.
We now have a great group of about 35 or so engineers that all work in where I am now. So our base in South Bermondsey. And then really we got to a point where we validated our technology, built a load of customer demand. And our next big step is basically mass manufacturing. So making far more of them and deploying at a massive scale. That requires a load of capital. It's a really good time for quote unquote Series A. And really, therefore, we raised this cash. Plural, one of our largest backers in our seed round, are a big part of it, and then IQ Capital led the round amongst a plethora of great new angels, old angels that we've had. Some angels that have been with me for the past kind of 10 years in some of my companies. And then, we're really using this cash to open up our big factory. So we call it Production Base 1. We move there in the next 6 weeks. It's also in South London, around the corner from where we are now. And basically start mass manufacturing, which is a big step in the company's kind of history.
That's
so cool. Congrats.
That must have been an insane journey. I guess let's just start off with the problem you guys are trying to solve and tackle. There's obviously multiple avenues that you can draw inspiration from here, but I guess how necessary is this, and what is the founding journey here as well? What was the thinking?
So my background's in software. So I built and sold a couple of software companies prior to this. I've just always been interested in building companies, firstly, just like the architecture of it, building things generally, whether that's software, hardware, I just enjoy complexity in building stuff. I think before Rivan, I looked at this with Like what's going to be objectively important in 20 years? Often that's energy, it's infrastructure, it's very difficult, complex, long-term, capital-intensive businesses that seldom get built. So I thought, okay, well, that's a really good opportunity. Like run towards the risk almost, and really, I think if we're to make life sustainable on Earth, we need to capture gigatons of carbon. To do that, we need a profitable mechanism. To do that, I thought synthetic fuels are a great example, and or a great kind of good opportunity for that. And specifically, you need like 20% of the world's energy you can't electrify. So we're going to have to create trillions of dollars of synthetic fuels at some point, and we're going to have to do so very, very cheaply. And I think the key, like forcing function, or the thing that's changed over the last few years that makes that a viable reality, is that energy costs, so electricity costs, has plummeted from solar mostly. So suddenly, for the first time in history, you can get very, very, very cheap electrons, and you can use them for very energy-intensive processes. Synthetic fuels, desalination, bauxite refining, aluminium, really anything where a large percentage of overall cost base is energy. First time in history, we're going to make those things cheap. And I think that's why it's important, both timely, it's important for the world, and also it can act as a huge forcing function. Like if people start making more money mining the sky with these new types of kind of quote unquote e-fuels, it has a cascade effect, like Tesla and EVs, right? They own a small percentage of the overall market, but they change the entire market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really fascinating point. You mentioned like energy is obviously a key thesis throughout this whole company. We've had conversations in which people are predicting in 2030 that there's going to be a number of gigawatt energy shortages based off the current demand for, I guess, consumption of that in relation to data centers and etc. Is this playing a part in how you guys are thinking and operating at all, or
kind of? I think huge bottleneck on the grid. Grid is very congested. It operates in a supply-demand balance, so it's kind of this old school architecture that's very hard to change. It means, there's literally gigawatts that could come online, they can't fundamentally. Right. That's mostly electricity. We really deal with areas that you can't electrify. So chemicals, steel, cement, aviation. So it's a useful kind of corollary, and it's an accelerant for us, but we're not really an electricity provider. So not really. We'd focus on the areas where they have no other option. Fundamentally, you need chemicals to build, or you need fuels to build chemicals or paints or oils or clothing and things like that. And that's really where irrelevant of electricity prices. That's where we focus.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
I asked this question last time we spoke about your the reason for building in London. You obviously just mentioned that you're going into a new warehouse in 6 weeks in South London. Talk to us about why you're staying so close to London, because I imagine it's more expensive.
It's not cheap.
But surely, like if you're, I don't know, and then even the north of England, right? It's like it's a lot less expensive. Can you talk to us about why you're making that decision? And have your investors asked that question? I guess.
Yeah, of course. We have. First and foremost, the company has always been vertically integrated in that pretty much everything we build in-house from the ground up, from scratch, almost everything. As such, we have this great group of engineers that live very close to where we are building things constantly. And our DNA is fabricating and building things in-house. I think because of that, we have this talent density here in South London. Lots of people live within a mile of the factory, or the majority of the team do. And if we rip that apart and suddenly have R&D and manufacturing in a different place, I think we lose the magic of iteration speed and design feedback and just general rapid progression. So I think we'll fight to keep that. That means currently we're going to keep everything in-house in the UK, under one roof in the UK in London, and manufacturing and R&D. Over time, does that change? Maybe, and maybe we're forced, like on a mass scale, when we're talking millions of square footage, I think you just don't get those places in London. So we are going to have to move slightly further afield. But I think for as long as we physically can, we want the people designing the products and the people that are making them side by side. And that's worth a hell of a lot more than the delta in square footage, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree.
There's something connected to this. I'm putting my laptop on charge. I didn't do it this morning. Connected to all of this, I saw when we were doing research, and again, I think this might have came up last time, but there was a really cool, there seems to be a number of points around how you will prioritize speed as, I guess, like a core function across basically everything you do within the business. And I found it really funny because like synthetic fuels sounds to me like something could blow up, basically. Like in my mind, when I think about that, when it's like chemically connected or something, but like how do you balance the two of like moving incredibly quick, particularly with this very unique thing that you're building? I guess run like almost like a software company in a way, right? At the pace that you're trying to iterate and move and accelerate. What does it mean to you to do that? Like, why is that a core thesis for you?
Because you can split R&D and production there in their speeds. But I think for us, moving fast, one is energizing for people. If you're in a fast environment, great people thrive off of that. As a video, agreed. Number two is also one of the greatest mechanisms for frugality and saving cash. If we're burning X amount a month and we save an entire month in a work stream over the course of a year, that might be 500 grand. Like suddenly, actually, it's really like the best mechanism for saving cost. And then also speed compounds. Like Rivan will be a company where we properly hit our stride in 15 years, where all the things we're doing today come to fruition. Most companies, that's often incredibly kind of forced forward almost and front loaded, where in 2-3 years you need to see something. And as such, we save an hour today. It might be a day in a month's time, in a year's time. That's a week. In X amount of years, suddenly like we're a completely different company in the singular decision we made today. So if we do it slightly quicker today, in 15 years we might be quadruple the company. And I think that's really impactful because we can see it compounding. And lastly, speed begets speed. We do something quick over here, so someone else that's just seen it does it quick over there, and it doesn't matter if it's just engineering. It'll be the same in permitting, the same in commercial, and then I think you create this really great environment ultimately for progression. I think that's number one. However, I think you do have to split that in R&D and production, where we've been great at iterative R&D over the last year. I think that's our core skill set, and all of our engineers are under one roof. Going into production, where we're making large systems that operate completely autonomously and operate in potential environments that are flammable, like you mentioned. I think suddenly then there are specific guardrails and specific processes that we have now become very good at to mitigate all of that exposure. So there's speed until the right point, I would say, in environments that we work at.
That's I want to get your philosophy on hiring because Rivan is it's kind of I assume you're kind of looking for pretty missionary people who want to really help the world, and speed is obviously a huge thing as well, as you mentioned. How do you find the people that you want to work with for the next 15 years or longer at Rivan? What's the thesis when you're hiring?
Most of the people that work here, so there's about 35-ish. We're hiring for another 35. So if there are talented engineers listening to this, please come and check us out.
Sure.
But I think ultimately we hire mostly for agency. I know that's a buzzword right now, and everyone talks about it. But fundamentally, if you hire for agency, I think for us that means somewhere throughout someone's career, whether they're young or older, they have done things that are slightly atypical. They have built stuff themselves. At uni, they had side projects where they, we have an engineer here that had the first the first ever road legal sofa. He built a road legal sofa and he drove it on the road. And it's like, he was just curious about that. It's interesting. Like, well, I don't know if it's even relevant to the stuff that we build, but like it has an element of agency where he's been and done things off of his own back. I think that's incredibly apparent across pretty much everyone that works here, and I think we try and really optimize for that, because I think that is far more of a show of crystalline skill set that you learn in uni or go step by step through.
I can imagine. Have you seen like an increase in like as the conversations around I guess like mission driven individuals, or like the sovereignty sort of mentions trends upwards? I think that maybe more sovereign-driven individuals or mission-driven individuals are coming forward or realizing that this is a great calling for them. Are you seeing a trend with that at all? Are you seeing like that tick up?
I think it's always been the case. I think now it's just very apparent in media, but I think actually underneath that, there are thousands of people that want to do the right thing and work on something that somehow is the right thing to do, that's very empowering, and also has the right business structure and environment to go and do that, where we can, it's profitable and we have great R&D resources and things like that. So I think it's actually always been there, and we just try and filter for those people, because ultimately when going gets tough, they're the people that stand up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like coming towards the end, like what you've raised this money, what is the plan now? I'm not sure how fast you intend to burn through the cash. Is it like on a 2, 3 year, 4 year horizon? But what's like top priority now you've got the money?
Increase manufacturing, number one, deploy on a mass scale. They're the two things I think they're critical factors in the company's history. If we can go and do that, I think it's really kind of paving the way for large domestic production of synthetic fuels all over Europe. How long that will take us, I don't know. I think over the next few months, some of the things will become very apparent, like opening our factory and stuff like that. We have good resources today. We'll see where that takes us fundamentally.
Yeah. And at the moment, just to quickly, are you so you're manufacturing in-house in your warehouse? That is all.
It's a bit more than a warehouse, but yeah.
Okay. Giga warehouse. Are you staying? Is it all staying in the UK or is it going elsewhere in Europe? What's the plan for everything?
Currently, all staying in the UK, all domestic supply chain broadly as well,
Nice.
which also is very important. So will that change over time? I'm sure. We're going to deploy over Europe. So we'll take the systems, manufacture in the UK, deploy elsewhere, all over Europe.
Sure.
Some of them in the UK. May expand production over time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Good stuff. Well, look, always a pleasure to chat. Congrats on the raise, and keep us updated.
Thank you very much, guys. See you later.
Good stuff.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Congrats. Ciao.
Awesome stuff. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Next on the show, I believe
We've got Yoshi Yokokawa joining. He's the CEO and co-founder of Alpaca Markets.
He should be joining fairly soon. I saw him in the waiting room, but
may have dropped out momentarily.
the guy will be joining fairly soon.
Coming in.
I hope. Here we go.
Amazing.
We can see him. Hello.
Yoshi, can you hear us? Amazing. Dude, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the European Technology Network. Awesome. For the viewers and the listeners at home, do you maybe want to give a brief introduction as to who you are, what Alpaca is in general, and then we can get into it?
Yeah, Alpaca is a US headquartered clearing broker-dealer infrastructure. So we work with the companies like Kraken, Flagstone, and we offer the mid-office, back-office brokerage infrastructure for hundreds of financial institutions globally. And we work, and we offer a lot of crypto stuff, tokenization, and of course, TradFi, stocks, options, and fixed income.
Nice.
And you're in London at the moment. Talk to us why you're in London. What the what the plan is over here.
Yeah, so last year, as Alpaca, we acquired another fintech company and the broker dealer in the UK called Wealth Kernel, and then we expanded our market into the UK and Europe. And we also have this, fintech week happening in London. So that is a part of the reason why I'm here.
Nice. Maybe tell us a little bit more, just so we got to get a broader picture. What is the founding story here? Why did you choose this? How long have you been building? Would love to get a sense of that.
Yeah, we started our company in 2017. And then, we got the first broker-dealer license in the United States in 2018. And we went through Y Combinator. We were in the winter 19 batch. So we kept on getting licenses, keep building stuff. And the reason why we're doing this is that, I grew up in both the US and Japan. And then I felt that financial services access between different countries is actually really different. What I used to get in the United States, when I go back to Japan, you don't get it. You can get access to Robinhood when you are in the US. You don't get access to Robinhood when you're in Japan. And that thing was really, really frustrating to me. So what we built is basically the back end, mid-office, back office infrastructure so that a lot of people in different countries can build their own version of Robinhoods everywhere in the world. So that's the reason why we do this, building the infrastructure.
Yeah, and awesome. Why is it that cross-border investing is still still breaks down in practice? What are the mechanics behind it? It's, I assume, regulatory and technology as well. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, definitely. I think as an individual user interacting with the financial services, that includes banking, savings account, credit cards, even investing, trading, is what we experience, what we see on the mobile app is what we have, right? Like, we don't consider, oh, this is a broker dealer or bank. It's a, investing app or banking app.
Yeah.
The reality, what's happening is, behind the scene of those apps are the same old regulatory framework that we have to deal with. And all those regulation is all different from each countries. And then all the clearing of the securities, of the money movement cross borders, also very same since like 100 years ago. So I think like, even though it looks really modern and mobile app, the reality is like it really didn't change much. So that is the reason why like we continue to have this very difficult, like cross-border management of the money movements and then investing.
Yeah. And talking about the European expansion then, and your experience between, building in the US, obviously US headquartered, and now, experiencing what it's like building in the UK and Europe. Can you talk to us about the kind of, I guess, regulatory frameworks? Don't want to just talk about regulation all the time, but what are the, there's going to be differences. What are the kind of opportunities that you see compared to the US when now you're building in Europe?
I think like each country, each region has their own regulatory framework, right?
100%.
And I think like, the UK, in my opinion, has been moving really fast. And then, I feel like it's, in my opinion, like less political compared to the United States, where like in the US, when the Trump becomes president, suddenly things starts moving, which means that there's a flip side of that. Okay, when it's not Trump, what's going to happen to the regulation? Yeah. I think like UK and Europe has like much more structured way of approaching this, and then having the right like the future mindset. So I feel like more stable and grounded in terms of like what's happening in the UK and Europe. So like I'm very excited that we're now also headquartered in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, you're headquartered in the UK as well.
Yeah. So basically, like, what we do is like, we are extremely remote, globally distributed company. So like, we have headquarters basically, the US, North America, and then, Asia, and then Europe, UK. And then, we treat this, Europe as the one of the key, basically one of the headquarters that we have globally.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. Can we talk a little bit about like adoption, I guess? How is this, are you seeing an acceleration towards this type of stuff as people, I guess, they're becoming a little bit more literate in it? Like, how has that been since, I guess, earlier towards now? I assume maybe it's starting to compound a little bit.
Yeah. I think the reason why, like, company like us, we're doing basically B2B2C or infrastructure layer for the fintech applications, right? Yeah. And the reason why this like fintech applications like grow since like early 2010 to now is that because of the interface, how human has been interacting with the computers. Like, we got like, mobile apps, smartphones as the common sense. So of course, financial services have to evolve into that our lifestyle, which became basically like, the first wave of the fintechs and, second wave of the embedded fintech. So that's the reason why that was happening. And I think like, we are actually the end of that cycle. Now we're seeing AI, LLM, agents, which means our interface and the lifestyle towards the technology and financial services is going to be very different again. So I think like, that we will see very different cycle of the evolution, how we going to interact with the financial services, because like, the main things will not probably be smartphones and iPhone. It's going to be probably AI. And then we have to think about how the financial services will look like when we are the ones who's interacting primarily in AI instead of the trading app and the banking app. So I think like, we're very excited because we're infrastructure to support however the evolution happens, regardless of it's a app or smartphone or AI or agents. Sure. So that's how we think about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the agentic stuff, and because we have we have a lot of people kind of building in this space on the show, and agentic finance is obviously something that comes up a lot. Obviously, you guys, as you mentioned, kind of building in the infrastructure layer. Does that change the way that you build? Like, are you looking, at the 5-10 year horizon and going, okay, I'm building some form of kind of, I guess, update or product specifically for the next 5 years, not necessarily for now. Is that the right assumption to make?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like, when think about like, 10 years horizon, I think about like, two big trends. One is definitely AI, agent side of the things. And the second one is, things becoming on chain. like, tokenization, all those things. So those two things definitely impact a lot in terms of what we built. I think AI-wise, what we are really seeing is how the humans will interact with the financial services, which means that how the agents and the AI will connect to financial services is not going to be human interface. It's going to be the application interface, which is called basically API.
Sure.
So we have to even triple down on how our API works and how the community around the API is, interacting with each other, coming up with the new things, SDKs, open source stuff. So that kind of developer experience that we were thinking, that's for the developers, it's becoming for everyone, because everyone now became a developer because of the vibe coding. So we definitely even think about how we make sure even agents can open up the account, how the agents can build a bunch of the stuff so that they ask for the human for the permission. How can we make sure that there's a security? Those are the things that we're thinking about in terms of AI. And then on chain side, it's also very interesting because we see since 1970s, financial services was a paper, right? Our grandparents or dads was doing the paper operations. Yeah. And now with the MS-DOS and everything, over the 50 years, now it's on the computer, we're doing. That similar shift is happening to on-chain. Mm-hmm. So that's how big this whole shift is. So we're thinking about how we make sure that we support that transition to on-chain from this traditional finance, which is on computer. Sure. And in order to move that thing, we have to firstly connect everything on the traditional finance so that there's a representation on chain side that's reflecting on what we are seeing on the computer and then traditional finance. So those are the kind of two trends that we see that we're trying to adapt ourselves in terms of product roadmap.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So a question for you then, the first section of what you mentioned where you kind of tripling down on the API side of thing, but with that in Notion, then as people start to build software for agents, not for humans, do we then just forget about, I guess, the UI from a design point of view? Does that matter anymore? Because Robinhood's UI is beautiful, it's amazing. All these brokerage accounts, most of them anyway, have a really nice UI.
Which ones don't?
Does that become Hargreaves Lansdowne? That kind of sucks. But trading 2-on-2, I really like. Does that become obsolete then? Do we not need a fancy UI or anymore?
I think there are two things that we should be thinking about. I think that if you think about the movie Her with the Joaquin Phoenix and then Scarlett Johansson, the human interaction with the system becomes completely voice, right, in that movie. And you really don't have a visual interface unless you intentionally turn on something. Mm-hmm. And I think that really kind of makes sense where the things are going. Of course, the word design is a very big word. I think designing the actual visual interface, designing user experience in two different things, right? So I think user experience is something that designers and design have to continue to work because experience has to be very important regardless of it's visual or voice or whatever that we're going to touch. So with that said, I think the Robinhood continues to evolve because they're not only the master of the visual interface, but they're a master of the user experience design. Yeah. So I think regardless if it's voice or not, I think they're going to continue to do well. Vlad's thinking a lot of things. I think he's going to do well. And the second point is that even though we kind of see where the world is going to be, we don't know how quickly that's going to be adopted in terms of our human life. I think how we see the GPT and everything becomes pretty popular, but still I think we have now went over this innovation cycle. I think there will be still, in my opinion, there's some disappointment of okay, how is it really useful? But I think eventually it's going to get to where everyone's adapting how we interact with the AI and agents. So I think we have to be realistic. How long does it take as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. What do we over the next 5 years? Then you may have a better understanding of this than the most people that maybe even discuss it or look at it. But where will things be in 5 or 10 years? Right? Is there a moment where you think that people in the industry would be okay, yes, it's happened already, or we've done it, or the agentic economy is now born? What is that next 5-year horizon, I guess, with that element?
I think 5 years is a very tricky duration, but I'm very much optimism. So I think this AI agentic stuff will probably expand it pretty significantly in 5 years. If you ask me 10 years, definitely. Yeah. In terms of tokenization on chain, I still see like it's going to take much more time. We're talking about $350 trillion of the custody that has to move. So it's a lot of things. But I think like this AI and LLM, that may be much faster.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. Well, what can we look forward to then from Alpaca, I guess, over the next 6 months? Like, what are you guys really pumped about? Where can we like send people and direct people as well?
Yeah. So we're very excited about like anchoring, stuff in the Europe. We just announced like acquisition of the wealth kernel, and then we're launching the the access to the European markets in our API. So like it's not only about like accessing the traditional finance equities market in Europe, but also like that will be available to be tokenized and move that on chain as well. So those are the stuff that I'm personally super excited about. And then we are alpaca.markets, and we're everywhere in Twitter and LinkedIn, the GitHub and everywhere.
Let's go.
Let's go, dude. Good stuff, man. Well, look, thanks very, very much for taking the time. Have a good time in London and at the event. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
We'll see you soon.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Awesome stuff. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Next on the show, we have OSF, CEO and co-founder of Rekt Drinks. He's not actually in the studio yet, so we can't play the song, but it's
CEO and co-founder of Rekt Drinks, OSF.
Here he is
in the stream. How you?
You did.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. It happens every time. People want to get, it's normally if I'm going to join the Zoom call, I'll come in 2 minutes. I've got a little time, I can check my audio.
I think people think that there's a waiting room, and our viewers think that there's a waiting room. Yeah. And now disclosing that there isn't a waiting room.
It doesn't, if we have someone on, it doesn't just throw you live straight away. Like person is live.
Yeah. But sometimes people go live and then like walk off and start like fiddling like with like, I don't know, their curtains or something.
Yeah. That happened, that happened before. I think that was Sebastian actually that started doing that.
Yeah, super funny. Anyway, dude, thanks for taking the time.
Of course.
Let's dive straight in because we've only got 15 minutes.
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions. I'm gonna have to take over here straight away. I'm so sorry because I remember when you first launched the Rekt NFTs. So the NFTs was my onboarding moment into crypto in general. What a wild time that was. It is connected to the story, so I'd love to just get like your perspective of like what it was like building one of the largest NFT collections from like from an assets under management perspective, right, during the all-time highs on OpenSea. Like, can you just walk us through like you and your partner who was like setting this whole thing up? Like, what was that like? Because that must have been nuts. Like, the portfolio that you guys were managing was massive.
Oh, when we started collecting NFTs and stuff, it was. I mean, it was just random, really. Like we both used to be traders, got into crypto in 2021, and then just at the right time, just decided to buy the NFTs. Basically, I mean, I think the view we had then was like we really expected inflation to go a lot higher without rates being cut, and that's why we started buying Bitcoin. And we looked at buying actual physical collectibles because of their very good inflation-proof trades. And then we stumbled on digital collectibles, and we're like, oh fuck, this is like crypto and also collectibles on chain. Maybe this thing could go crazy. Now I don't know if that's the reason why it went crazy or not, but just took a big punt, owned a load of apes and all that kind of stuff back in the day, 5 years ago now actually.
And it worked out.
So nuts. I remember seeing that. I was just like, that was a crazy time. That was one of the most crazy times. That was my onboarding moment. But we can leave that there. Let's talk about Rekt Drinks. Let's talk about the news as well. Like, it launched in Waitrose. I think it was Waitrose, right? And I saw an amazing video of a guy buying. I don't know. I think just a guy tweeted this out, but it was him buying some Rekt Drinks and then renewing the barcode on the back and just getting them for free, basically. Like, you're paying back in crypto. Can you walk us through like what is Rekt Drinks, like, and that is like a really cool video that I'd love you to explain as well.
Yeah, for sure. So look, Rekt Guy started out as an NFT project that I made about 4 years ago. It was a pre-mint, just gave the whole thing away for free. Launched it when the entire market crashed. So it kind of went viral, I guess, because everyone was getting Rekt and could kind of resonate with it. And over the next 2 years, we just built a really strong community online. So I felt like at that point, we had no roadmap. It was just a meme-based project. as an NFT, and I thought, okay, there's some potential behind Rekt as a potential IP story or doing something with it like a brand. So about 2 years ago, we decided to make drinks. Very arbitrary, but I think the idea was, how can we get this actual brand out there in as many places as possible, physically as well as digitally? And with drinks, they're cheap to manufacture. You can mass produce them. There's tons of crypto events throughout the world during the year, and we can just have them, in as many places as possible. So we started figuring out how to manufacture drink with literally zero experience in CPG or drinks. And this was around the time when meme coins started going a bit crazy. And then, I don't know if you guys remember the Solana phone, like no one touched it for 2 years. And then as soon as you could claim like a $500 bonk airdrop on it, the entire thing sold out in a weekend. So
no way.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. Like, people are obviously, just like how you say, oh, come onto my L2, bring a load of capital, do a bunch of trades, do some activity, and in return, you'll get a token airdrop, and that's kind of like how you make money. You're incentivizing on-chain activity. So I thought this idea of actually applying the same crypto reward mechanism to incentivizing off-chain activity in a traditional business could be quite interesting. And it's basically consume to earn. We've seen tons of consume to earn projects over the years, but that was the idea. And we're like, let's make Rekt a meme coin, because everyone loves meme coins right now, and say, okay, every time you buy drinks, you're able to claim some of this coin. So that was the idea. A little bit crazy. Didn't know if it would work or not. Kind of just throwing spaghetti at the wall, really, and just seeing what would stick. And in 2024, October 2024, we launched our first drink drop. We sold out of about almost 250,000 cans in just under 2 days. Yeah, and then since then, it just kind of went crazy. I guess it kind of worked. Like people made money on that. People got drinks that they actually like to have. And then over the next year, we sold just over 1 million drinks in under a year with the same sort of rewards incentivized model from doing these drinks drop. And that's kind of gotten us to where we are now.
Damn, those stats are nuts. That's absolutely insane. I love how you intro that whole thing no idea how to do a CPG brand. That's so
very
so
humble
funny.
of you, sir.
What's been the hardest part about that? Because that's a nut feat to achieve in 2 years, especially an individual that has no connections to the industry or from experience point of view.
Man, making physical products is very hard, and my entire career has been sitting at a keyboard, clicking a mouse, and things happen instantly, right? You do a trade, there you've got the position on, you see your P&L update. So it's very much a world of instant gratification. When you're a trader, you're the only person you rely on, right? If you lose money, it's your fault. If you make money, it's your well-doing. Suddenly, when you start manufacturing products, it's like, okay, I need to manufacture the cans. I need someone to ship the cans to the canner. They need to make sure they fill it at the right, CO2 levels, or this kind of stuff, or the cans will explode. They then need to be shipped to a logistic. There's so many different moving parts, and it's such a long journey to get to the stage where you get the final product in your hand. So that was just, I think, learning to be patient was a really big learning curve for me, but also realizing that these things take a lot of capital, a lot of organization. You need big teams, and you need to adjust your expectations accordingly, and then figure out how you communicate this expectation to your community or to your consumers accordingly. Because again, in crypto, everyone wants more than they have yesterday. So very, very short attention spans, and it's just about dialing into that to make things reasonable, I think.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's an element of I guess it kind of leads towards the premise of why it's been so successful is marrying those community-driven engagement sort of theories that you natively have been learned in the crypto space and applying it to this CPG realm. That intersection of brand and engagement, I know what you mean when you say that. In terms of the old NFT launches, I used to see these strategies now get deployed in some startups where they're kind of doing these mini pre-launches that are leaking information, and everything's geared towards a Discord or a wait list or whatever it is. Where do you think that's at today, and how do you think you're using it best? This brand and interaction sort of marriage that you've set up here.
Yeah, look, I think the way that it works for us is the NFTs are there as collectibles and people have sentimental value, but the real engine room of it is the token. It's Rekt coin, and we classify that as a brand coin. So, imagine you find a small challenger brand that you really love, and you go out there and you buy its products and you support it at an early stage. And if that brand goes on to crush it, you were there at the beginning, and all you've got really is bragging rights. It's I own edition 1 of this thing, but you played a real part in its success, and you don't really have anything to show for it. Whereas with Rekt, you go out there, you buy drinks, you earn this coin, and the coin is not equity, right? You don't own any voting rights, you don't own any stock in the company. However, just like the concept of brand value, intangible brand value, the price of it goes up or down based on the crypto market, but also based on the sentiment of the brand. And if that brand sentiment increases, the price of it can increase. And for Rekt, in the last 12 months, even despite this terrible market, we're up 200%. That's a big outperformance versus Bitcoin. And at some point this time, last summer, we were at whatever it was, $500-600 million market cap. But that's, I think, due to that brand visibility and brand awareness increasing. And now suddenly, as an early supporter, you're like, oh shit, like I bought this thing because I thought it was cool. I just claimed this coin and just kept it in my wallet. Now suddenly it's worth this much. And that, I think, creates a really new consumer experience and consumer engagement that we haven't really seen before, or we haven't really seen done successfully before. And that, I think, is the interesting part of what we're doing.
Yeah, deep diver on that, on the, I don't know, the way that you see over the next kind of whatever in the future, how will consumer engagement kind of change over over the next, I don't know, 10 years as things are being built on chain, more tokenization happens. Can you talk to us about the way that I guess these consumer brands should be thinking, and maybe the ones that are kind of doing it best, obviously by you guys?
Yeah, I think it will change a lot. Like the first iteration of brands was, I'm going into a physical store, I'm buying products off the shelf.
Yeah.
Second iteration was the internet, right? Go onto Amazon, buy stuff. Third iteration was social media. Oh, I saw Logan Paul and KSI drink this on social media. This is on Instagram. This is cool. Let me buy that.
Yeah.
And I really think the fourth iteration of it could be crypto. It could be Web3, because it's just a completely new consumer experience. And I think, people love underdog stories. People love challenger brands. People really want to see these brands compete against the big guys, right? And certainly watching the World Cup, and it's like Costa Rica versus Germany. Like, come on, Costa Rica! Like, you really want them to win, right? It's the exact same concept, but this allows supporters to become part of that journey and part of that story in a way that they've never been able to be a part of before. I think that's what crypto really enables.
Yeah, I love that. And then I want to talk about, I guess, the kind of big opportunity to break into mainstream with the on-chain world, right? I think, it's getting better, but it's still kind of in this kind of closed system. What is the opportunity of when, things like, if it is the kind of next iteration of what you were saying, of how consumers buy products and interact with brands, how big is that opportunity, right? And can you talk to us about your thesis behind making, something that is in this kind of, smaller, market or bubble, whatever it is, into breaking into kind of like mainstream? Like how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, that goes back to the Waitrose video that you guys mentioned, where, you're going in, you buy a pack of drinks, it costs £5 for a pack of 4, you scan the QR code, and suddenly you've got £6 in your wallet and you've made a bit of money, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all happening in crypto. And that's a really unique experience that I think breaks into the mainstream. In the US, there's 50 million crypto users, right? So let's say you go, and this is part of our pitch to retailers there. Let's say you go into, I don't know, a 7-Eleven, and there's 5 energy drinks, but one of them is Rekt, and you're able to pay in crypto. You're probably going to go and do that, because you're actually going to be someone who values that coin. So I think it has a real big opportunity to now break into the mainstream, because owning crypto and claim process is much more simple. Like, we use Coinbase's base app, and with that, we're able to, if you have the app installed, which takes under a minute, you can literally scan a QR code and claim coins in the space of about 3 seconds, without having to have a seed phrase, without having to go through a lengthy sign-up process. And that's what we haven't had before, but we do have now, and that will only keep improving. That consumer interface keeps improving to the point where these guys probably don't even know it's crypto, right? You can use your Apple Pay to get some gas on the base wallet, sell that, and suddenly you have real money. Like, you barely even touched the crypto side of things.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
Big up Base.
What's the shout out to Base. What's the process of getting a drink in Waitrose? Like, how do you even go about that? How do you do you email someone and be like, hey, look at this? Like, how does that work?
Yo, do you want to have my drink in this one?
No, I mean, look, we've expanded our team to have people who've worked in the drinks industry for a long time. So it's really through connections, relationships. One of the feedbacks we've had from many retailers is all these guys miss out on Prime, and Prime was a big success. And they were like, damn, we didn't get it, we missed out on it. Next time round, we're going to make sure that we don't pass on the next thing that we don't really understand. And that's, kind of how it's worked with a couple of them. And look, we've shown that we've had very strong consumer sales online on our website, and we've shown that we have a big community who are willing to go out and buy these drinks. So that's showing the process, and people are interested, for sure.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I guess just like last sort of 50 seconds, where can we point people towards? Where can we send people? Where can we send people in person as well? Like these stores.
Yeah, go down to Waitrose, your local.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're in the UK, go to Waitrose. We have drinks in stock there. If you're in the US, they're in Giant Eagle. We've just launched energy powders as well, which if you're in the US, you can buy them on Amazon, which is pretty good as well. And Rekt Drinks is our handle on all our socials. Rekt.com is our website.
Awesome, man. Congrats on everything. It is such a cool business.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And, super excited to hear updates.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me, guys. Cheers.
Good stuff. See you soon. Great to meet you.
Catch you in a bit.
Awesome stuff. Leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Next on the show, we have Rebecca. Rebecca, can you hear us? How's it going?
Amazing. Welcome to the show.
Good. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for taking the time. Well, look, it's a complete pleasure to have you. Maybe worth having an introduction from you for our listeners. We can start there, and then we've got a bunch of questions.
Cool. I'm Rebecca Kacaba, CEO and co-founder of DealMaker, which is a platform in North America that helps companies raise capital from retail investors. So my vision is 5 years from now, everybody in America owns the brands that they consume. So you walk into the grocery store, you pick up your favorite bag of chips, scan a QR code, and you own that bag of chips. So we're making investing part of people's everyday lives.
That's awesome. I love this intro. I have so many questions already. We covered a company a while back on the show called Nothing. It's essentially an iPhone competitor. They're building like a really well-designed phone, and they raised a bunch of money, but then they also opened up a strategic crowd-funded round. We broke into the benefits of like, why should companies look at this? Why is that really good thing? And for me, it was like eye-opening as to how strategic that can actually be. Things like brand loyalty, like support generally across like socials or whatever, bringing up sort of interest and bulking up. They're kind of like marketing employees in a way. I'd love to hear your take. I'm doing a really bad version of explaining the benefits of this, but I'd love to get your take on like, why should some of these companies who may not traditionally look at this start to look at it?
No, you're doing a great job. You're making my job easier. And Elon Musk these days is making my job easier as well, because everybody's talking about the benefits of this and why people do it. And listen, there's so many reasons, but if I'm going to sum it up quickly, I think brands are built online today. And so when you have a large community of supporters, our companies are using them in all different ways, right? They might do organic posting for you. They might become beta testers of your product. They might become users, and all of these things can generate more revenue for the business. So all the reasons that we're seeing more and more companies want retail allocations on their IPO, we're seeing a lot of private companies add retail to their cap stack earlier in the game because of that brand affinity, where you can distinguish yourself from the market and build a bigger brand online.
I want to ask, how does this work in practice? What's in place in the US that allows brands to retailers to be able to own their brands? How does that work?
Yeah, there's similar regulations to what existed in Europe. Europe was actually at the forefront of this with the first regulation.
Come on.
Huge. Let's get a ding.
Also, if you look at the size of the capital markets, the largest percentage of volume relative to the size of the capital markets in Europe. So another one there.
Go on.
That's it, another ding. Love that. Let's go Europe. Love to see it.
Yeah, so technologies like ours, we have the regulations built right in so that I like to say it makes it as easy to sell shares online as it is to sell shoes. People go through, they validate, AI can read documents and make sure that they're investing under the legal limit for what they're allowed to buy in stock. And then, you keep your your community updated the same way that you would post on social media, right? You give them business updates. You ask them for what you would like to do to help propel the business forward.
Yeah. And what do you think the scale of this type of stuff could be? I know like the hot trendy IPOs right now, SpaceX, OpenAI kind of, but now they've just taken on private funding, Anthropic. What, these are massive $1 trillion plus sort of like potential values for these IPOs. What sort of scale can this allow for like the people in the crowdfunding market, right? Because like, typically, surely they're coming into things that are maybe a little bit smaller than this. Seeing these two worlds collide for me is very interesting because inherently very sort of private market dominated companies. Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get a precise number for exactly what you described. Retail are coming into these rounds we do post IPO raises, you see them on the IPO, and then you see them in the private markets. So I think there's a huge growth opportunity. We're really seeing this rise of retail because of all the benefits that we see for the brand, not just in the brand stuff that we talked about, but also once the stock is trading, right? We've seen when our companies IPO, retail has that brand affinity that they aren't just going to trade away the stock immediately. They really want to see what happens. And that's one of the reasons you're seeing, OpenAI allocated $1 billion to retail and ended up putting $3 billion in, because they really want the individual retail user to have that brand affinity for them and be a part of the AI journey, and not just, as you guys were talking about last episode, right? Retail gets left holding the bag if they only come in on the IPO round.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that's a great point. I wanted to talk about the kind of, I guess, the shift in like foundation of early stage rounds, and you're seeing a lot of like heavy commitments from like large investors going into, these aren't just now kind of speculative bets. Like, well, they are, it's an early stage investment, but you can see that retailers, I guess, can follow in and leverage large investors' ability to do due diligence on companies and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk to us about the shift in like early stage rounds where they're not just small speculative bets, like they are big commitments into these things, and the companies can grow so quickly from 0 to 1?
Yeah, that's a great point. We are the market leader in the US in terms of those larger size rounds. So we have companies like Picasso, Silicon Valley, Darling, where we're doing a $73 million offering from retail. And the average investment size you're seeing on these rounds is $2,300. So we regularly get brought in on deals by their broker dealers who know the company may be going public in a couple of years, and they want to start adding retail to the cap table, which is exactly what we want, so that retail are getting in on earlier stage rounds. And we start to see more mature companies in the space and retail having access to this category, because it is a proven model, as I said, been around a long time in Europe and over a decade in the United States, where we can start to make these regimes operate in a more streamlined way so that retail can have access to the best companies when they're private.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry. You're probably seeing some really cool numbers just across the board on this, but I guess generally, how is retail investing trending? And like for me, I first came across it really in they were not connected really, because these were publicly listed stocks, but in the GME AMC craze era, when those gaming stocks and cinema stocks were just like mooning, I really saw and then we see these films being produced around like that whole thing, but it kind of educated people a little bit, like, hey, you can, as a retail investor, you can be one, and there are also some really good reasons why you should be one. How is it trending over the past 5-10 years? Like, what are we seeing in the numbers in terms of how many people are participating? What is the sentiment around this? You know, are there numbers on like exits being seen? Would love to get, just like a broad understanding of how things are moving.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing more interest in the space from a younger audience. So you have people less than 35 years old in America opening trading accounts 6 times more often than they used to. So definitely, you know, as people are not viewing home ownership as their primary way to grow their wealth, they're looking around for alternatives. And there's a lot of information around how to invest online. And so they can find that information, over 70% of it actually, on social media or through financial publication newsletters. So lots of information, that barrier being broken down by social media, more younger folks interested in the category. So as a consequence of that, they're earlier in their investment journey. They're looking for big ideas. We do a lot of tech, robotics, different revolutionary types of ideas, clean tech, really types of products that people have an affinity for, that they want to see in the world, but they also can realize that there are going to be larger gains for that. And then I would say the category on the types of companies is maturing. We're seeing more larger companies want to add retail to their cap stack early.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What was your take on when OpenAI did do their last private round? They opened up the ability to I can't remember who it was now. They had a bunch of ETFs that they kind of partnered with, and retail investors could get access to that. Can you talk to us about, you know, I guess that was probably something like kind of akin to what you were saying, where they're getting retail investors bought in before they IPO. Talk to us about that strategy and what you see the kind of future of that happening, right? Companies are staying private longer, and they're building up more kind of positive sentiment within the communities that they're building. And then, you know, hopefully they have a more positive outcome for an IPO.
Yeah, exactly. And we're really, you know, everyone's talking about the SpaceX allocations. When I first started in the capital markets longer ago than I care to admit, but retail allocations were maybe 10%, and you regularly would see that on an IPO. And now you're seeing retail allocations like SpaceX, Gemini, all of these different companies up over 30%. And so people are really scrambling about, where can I find that access? Is it going to be through Robinhood? Is it going to be through different types of ETFs, as you mentioned? Or is it going to be through, you know, the crowdfunding portals, platforms like DealMaker? So I would say we're in this rise of retail because of this awareness about what it can create, and all the new channels are developing. It's exciting times.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And is there like an area that the retail investors, because maybe there would be an education piece? I mean, everyone's crazy about AI, right? So like naturally they would flock towards whoever has exposure to those industries. But you know, you mentioned robotics earlier. Like, is there a specific area that retail investors are trying to, you know, from the conversations that you're having? Is there a particular space where like, how do I get in now? I need to get exposure to this, or is it just like AI, robotics, maybe defense as well?
Little bit of all of those categories, and then consumer facing brands as well. You know, we have a great flower company based in Los Angeles that is bringing their community in. You've been ordering flowers from us for a long time. Now invest in the brand and be part of the journey. And people just love it, because I'm spending money on this product anyways, so I might as well benefit from the growth of the business.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. What can I ask? Like, what's the founding story here? Like, why did you take this on, and why did you think that this was necessary?
You know, I was a lawyer in the capital markets for a very long time, and call me anti-institutional, but I saw a process that was broken, and I saw a lot of founders that needed a different way of raising capital, and I work with Congress in Washington on the rules very regularly, and saw what they were trying to do, and really believed that there was a real opportunity here for everyday people to get access to a category that previously was only available to professional investors. And I just wanted that to be something that everybody could access. You know, people have no caps on online gambling or buying NFTs, but yet they're capped out of a category where real wealth is made. The poster story, Revolut, you know, also a European story where people are making enormous returns, and I think everybody should have access.
Yeah.
How do you think this will change the way that that founders will build companies, knowing that they will have their customers wanting a piece of the company and getting access to their shares, as well as buying the actual product, right? Obviously, community is a huge thing, but I'm really curious about how do you see any cool examples of companies who are really like building their community in a great way as investors and as customers?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many examples. We do a few hundred deals a year, but I think the biggest thing for me to create awareness around is, right, stock option plans were not typical in the 60s and 70s. And then one day someone said, hey, if we let employees participate, we're going to have better output from employees. They're going to be more invested in the company, more aligned with shareholders, and they're going to produce better companies. And that became true. And now every company has a stock option plan. And so it's the same thing with having your consumers in your brand, right? If they're invested in the business and in the journey, they're on it for the long haul. And so you'll see those companies already, with bigger brands who are doing this and seeing real outcomes from it.
Yeah, 100%. Just about 30 seconds left. Where can we send people? Where can we point viewers, listeners? What direction? What website? Or, upcoming event? Where can we point people?
Yeah, it's such a wicked business. I love it.
Thank you. We're on DealMaker.tech is the website, and we have a Reddit community, and we post on LinkedIn. You can follow us on all the major platforms. So we'd love to grow the awareness. So please follow us and repost and let everybody know this is a great source of capital.
Awesome. Can we? Can I get on the cap table of DealMaker? Are you on DealMaker? Is DealMaker on DealMaker?
I will open up a select round, of course. You can join the community.
That's good. Come on. Here we go.
Thank you so much. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome. Good luck with everything and the updates. Let us know. And welcome back anytime.
Thanks so much.
Good stuff.
Have a good one.
Awesome stuff. Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Go to base.org. Next on the show,
got a last-minute addition to the
Schematik.
He's coming into the back. It's Samuel Beek. He got some news. Sam, welcome back. What is going on? Dude, let me just hit this. Let me hit this. Let me hit this as well.
Here we go.
Yeah, I like this one. This one's a good one. Let's talk about this raise. Where did this come from? You've been planning this since you left V. Like, how long has the conversation been going on? I know
did you
had
have conversations when you were last on the show and you didn't tell us.
Yes, I did.
What the hell?
No, yeah, I was kind of around the time of when I made my first video about Schematik. Like, people started coming in and they were like, "Hey, would you need?" Do you need capital to grow this and build this out? Which is obviously very, very cool. So I've been talking about it, working on it for a while.
Okay, and maybe like a refresher for the audience, like what is Schematik? How much have you raised as well? Let's start there, and then we can go from there again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Schematik is like a cursor for hardware. So basically it allows you to prompt any type of hardware project you like to build. So let's say you want to build like a weather station for your home or something like that. It tells you which parts you need, how to wire it up. It writes the code for you and allows you to kind of deploy the code to the hardware as well. We raised a $4.6 million pre-seed led by Lightspeed, and with a lot of cool angels in the mix as well. And I guess that's where we are right now.
I love it, man. Congrats. The one thing I really wanted to ask you was your tweet where you retweeted your launch and said everyone should launch on the weekend. Talk to us about the launch and about, I guess like why should everyone launch on the weekend, man?
So initially we were supposed to kind of launch this news on Monday. Wired was covering it, and at a certain point Wired emailed me and they were like, "Hey, actually we're going to go live with the story on Saturday." And they told me this on Friday evening, and I realized I didn't have any of the materials planned, so I had to like work through the night to make a blog post, make a video, etc. So I don't know if you know, maybe the soft skin filter in the video did its work, but like I hadn't slept when I recorded that thing. but yeah, so we had to launch on Saturday, and initially, the first few comments that I got was like, "Wow, you're brave. Launching on a Saturday makes no sense." But it was actually very successful, and I think we reached more than 200K people on Twitter or X, and I think about 100,000 on LinkedIn as well. Which was more than I expected. So that was great. And I think the weekend works because all companies are launching throughout the week. Marketers only work during weekdays. So if you do something on the weekend, you have much less competition. And let's be honest, like all of us consumers and people were online on the weekends anyway. So after I did it, I was like, actually it makes kind of sense to launch more on the weekends because it's easier to be the news of the day, basically.
I love that theory. And what I think is one of the craziest part of it is that because you have this very unique skill set of this blend, growth hacker, viral marketer, obviously now founder and CEO of hardware for Cursor for Hardware. You're able to, if you're in a situation where Wired are saying, hey, we're gonna run this on this day, like you have to make a launch video on your own, but you can do that and you can make it go viral as well. Like how this is like the Avengers assemble of skills that solo founders
all in one person
need, man. Like this is the modern day generalist. So talk to us about that, like, because I think the space is kind of trending that way as well, right? We need more, founders need to be more creative, I think, from social perspective as well. But yeah, I mean, any learnings, tips, like you went viral again, like that's 2 for 2.
Yeah. I was really hoping to go viral, and every time you make a video, you're like, oh, the last one was very successful. Can I actually, get near there with my new one? But that worked out. So I think in general, like in this post AI world, like building is not as hard as it used to be. So if you want to, win, you need to own distribution. And especially in the early stages, you own distribution by you being you and then, being out there. I've started making videos about 5 years ago. They were absolutely terrible. They were 5-minute, 10-minute long rants on LinkedIn, and they were terrible. But over the years, I've learned to make better videos. And the funny thing is, in doing so, I kind of developed a bit of a persona online, and people respond really well to that. So I'm really using that now to build out and grow Schematik. So if you're a founder and you wanna raise, you wanna get out there, I think start making your own content is really, really great. And I think video works extremely well for that. So this worked out really well for me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm interested in so we know the guys at Lightspeed and obviously Lightspeed are notorious investors for investing in kind of like highly technical founders and technical companies. What was their like thesis behind the fact that you have an audience? Did they was that any kind of a part of the conversations at all, and saying, hey, look, like yes, I'm technical, I can do this and this is a huge problem, which I believe too, but the audience piece was also a huge kind of accelerant for that. Is that true? What were the conversations with Lightspeed?
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. And I think that's true for almost any investor I spoke to. I think what I managed to kind of prove early on was that I can find traction. And that's actually kind of really an advantage these days. Like it used to be, can you build it? And now it's much more, can you actually market it? Can you distribute it? So I think, and you should get Antoine from Lightspeed on the show to talk about this. But I think for them, it was definitely a big thing that I knew. I got that initial traction with the tweets and even more content later on. Yeah.
I guess like refresher of the big problem for those who aren't aware, like can we maybe, we had a great conversation last time around how hardware design itself, like the designing of these products itself, this whole area has been stuck in the 80s or 70s. I would love to just get a refresh of the mission. How big is this problem? It's been, I think, a couple of weeks since we last spoke. Any more new learnings about the scale of this opportunity that you're trying to attack? Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm very glad you remember some of it. That means I'm doing something right. But
the content works.
Yeah, no. So if you look at hardware, like if you look at one of my big frustrations right now is that most of the smart people are right now working on software. And then if you zoom into what software are they working on, it's often CRMs, flight booking, like interesting stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like I think we've kind of over optimized those areas of the world. Now, if we look at, where are the biggest problems in the world, it's often physical problems. We don't have enough people to build houses. We don't have enough people to build in care. Like we have the energy transition. All of these problems are like physical problems. And I think we can solve many of these problems with robots and with hardware. And one of the problems right now is that for a lot of smart people, it's really hard to build hardware because you need an electrical engineering degree, a mechanical engineering degree, all of those things. So what our hope with Schematik is that we can make building those hardware products a lot easier so that more people will start doing it. And we're trying to make it as easy as, making an app or a website with Lovable or Cursor. And that's basically the ambition. And I think if we do so, I think, first of all, the current hardware and robotics industry is huge. It's been the investments are really huge in that space. But I think if more people start doing it, that will also really turn things around even more.
Yeah, definitely. I asked you last time you were on the show whether you think that people will have their own personal hardware products that they build as, if it's as easy as building a website on Lovable, you can go and build your own, I don't know, whatever you want, light switch or something. I want to ask you that question again. And, after the few weeks that you've gone away, built some stuff, raised some money, do you still think, or I assume you're more bullish on that?
I'm definitely more bullish than ever. Like the more I learn, the more bullish I get. But yeah, I think there's a couple of interesting trends right now. If you're on TikTok and you type in cyberdeck, cyberdecks are these like computers that people build for themselves. And like right now, especially among like women in fashion and the art scene, it's really popular to make your own personalized cyberdeck. People make them like sea life themed or like cyberpunk themed or jungle themed. They do really fun stuff. And this is a really big movement. I saw an item about it on Channel 4 the other day. So that's one area where I see kind of like personal hardware. And that hardware is super personal, right? It's like more, kind of like a fashion item almost. What I'm also seeing like in music is that a lot of people, for example, want to build their own musical instruments, their own synthesizers, their own mixers to do their music stuff. So I feel like what I'm seeing more and more is that both in the private and the professional space, people are curious about, what can I build and how can I make myself or my products or my services more unique through building hardware. And yeah, I think that's a movement we'll see more of in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Connected to what you mentioned earlier, just about, you said that a lot of the smartest people are kind of focusing on software. And it's potentially been over optimized in some areas, given that, maybe we could have a 10x hardware engineer or 10x like intellect individual working on like a note-taking app, right? And like, is that the right thing for humanity? You could argue that. Do you, like, in terms of this cyclical shift, do you see, yes, like maybe that is a fair point to say we should have those smarter people working in hardware, but I guess on a macro trend, do you see this coming back to hardware now?
Yeah, definitely. Like, first of all, the amount of talent that is applying, the type of talent that is applying at Schematik right now to work on this is crazy. Like, really excited about that. Some cool people to be announced in the future. But I think besides that, like, you see that robotics companies, physical AI companies, hardware companies are attracting super talented folks. So definitely you see it on like the corporate scale. But also, like, if you look at like the accounts of people on Twitter or X or TikTok and stuff like that are building software, you see a lot of those people actually kind of playing with hardware as well recently. And I think that's because there is this feeling like, hey, can we build real stuff I have a friend and fellow schematic user, Emil Jansson. He's a senior product designer or something high up at Linear. And he's been making a speaker for his child to, I don't know, listen to audiobooks in her bedroom without being distracted. And he made one, then he made a video about it. Then everybody in the school of his daughter wanted one. So he's now like producing, I don't know, 50 or something. He wants to get approved by Spotify. Like, you see a lot of these types of projects coming around, and I think we're witnessing something here. Yeah.
Wait, that's not because, and the first thing I think of here is there a way that, so he creates that using Schematik? Can he then like?
I think he, to be fair, the first version I think he didn't create in Schematik because we were kind of tinkering in hardware around the same time. But you can definitely build it now. Yeah.
But so there will be a point in time in which one can construct this in
you
Schematik.
can do it now.
Okay, amazing. So like, is there not then a way that he could, create this thing in Schematik and then maybe have that design uploaded to Schematik, where it's like, I don't know how essentially it would work, but it's like downloadable or sellable in a marketplace, like that. This is just going to my head. I'm just like, that's sick.
No, you're definitely right. And this is one of the reasons I really wanted to get Thomas Wolf as an angel, because what he basically did with Hugging Face is he made a kind of like a GitHub marketplace type of thing for AI. Yeah. And I think we should do that for hardware. So basically right now you can use Schematik to prompt whatever you want, but actually most people want the same thing. And I think if they were working together or they're working on top of each other's projects, they would achieve even better results. So we're really curious about exploring that. That's definitely something that's on the roadmap.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna do like case studies and stuff? Like, or I mean, like you can see what was it a few weeks ago? Who was building something on Lovable and like they were selling something so random and like they were just
the
doing
dog photos.
Dog photos.
And
this person made a dog photos like website, and people were buying photos of their dog that I can't remember, whatever. And anyway, they built it on Lovable, and Anton posted about it and was like, "This person's making like $2 million a year doing this. Can you guys, you should start doing that for sure."
That's so cool.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This morning, I spent a lot of time talking to hardware founders. And I think, we're going to make a lot of content about this. If somebody has made something interesting with Schematik, we're going to talk and boast about it everywhere. Wired did a piece on us, and actually the piece was partly on Schematik, but also on a Claude Code Tamagotchi that a guy named Mark made with Schematik. And then later on, Anthropic decided to make that kind of a Claude Code feature. So we're seeing already some of those early signals there, which is super exciting. Yeah, I think I would love to grow not by promoting the tool, but by promoting what people have built with the tool.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely the best way to do it.
That's awesome. Well, we're 1 minute over, but damn, that is congratulations on the news, man. So cool.
Thanks.
And I can't believe you kept it quiet on the stream last
time. I'm not sorry.
I had legal obligations. Next time I will give you guys a heads up off the record.
Wrong answer. Dude, keep us updated. Thanks for spending the time as always. And
cheers.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Cheers, dude.
Bye.
Congrats. So awesome.
Awesome stuff. Leave us this is Banking Behind with Airwalix. Go to airwalix.com. That is the show. We will see you on Tuesday, the 23rd of April. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.